of ways today, but that's just part and parcel for how the politics of that old movement have evolved since then. And I mean, you won't find what would be called libertarian in any part of Europe, I think, outside of some of the ironically like
an alien concept.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, this is where I think that's why Yarvin crips from it so much with like the Frederick the Great and the cameralist, neo-cameralism crap. And it's just like, it is a distinctly American thing because its founders, the people that, Rothbard and others would crip from, and not say crip, but work off of, were just a bunch of like newspaper editorialists, politicians, and writers from like the late 1800s, early 1910s and 20s that were very much these sort of individualist, old stock, frontiers guys that were now in polite society realizing that what America's transforming into is insane. And I mean, if you want to see what that really looks like, I would tell people to read H.L. Mencken. Like he's ripping off on like rehabilitative prisons. He's talking about like what a farce public education is, like the growth of government and what we would, call managerial state. It's a crazy thing to think about that, it's what it said in Ecclesiastes, nothing new under the sun. And, just the sort of like wheel of political right-wing samsara just keeps going, where we have to reinvent the wheel every time over and over again.
But I think with H.L. Mencken, what balances him out is he sort of has a like disdain for the plebes.
Oh yeah,
he realizes that like he's different than a lot of other libertarians that sort like after Friedrich Hayek, which I think, a lot of Hayek was a psyop. Let's face it.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, like before Hayek, you had that space of like a sort of aristocratic libertarianism, whereas like, the people can be trusted, but because they can't be trusted with the greater machinations of government, why would you give them tools of basically, apart from self-governance, you're almost like it's a limiting factor. Whereas like if you give them governance over the whole thing, they're going to screw it up. Whereas, H.L. Mencken, he had the great term or the great coin of phrase. He's like, eventually you'll get a leader that's exactly like the people. And do you really want that?
Yeah.
So yeah, he saw the pitfalls of democracy, very much similar. He's like a proto version of Hoppe. Whereas like libertarianism nowadays, they have this like very F-slurry relationship towards like this supreme deference of the wisdom of common people, which let's face it, that's not.
Well,
that's why people became like white nationalists after all.
Well, because they're like, that's
it, it's over. Like,
well, because it gave way to playing, because it had its flashpoint.
The pipeline was real for a reason.
It was. This is the one thing libs were right about, is that there was a pipeline. But no, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it had its, I guess, like flash in the pan moment electorally. I mean, in what was it? 92 when, not 92, or was it 96 when Pat Buchanan ran for president again? Or no, it was 1992, because he was going to primary challenge George H.W. Bush. And this was like, I think, because it was like right before Murray Rothbard died in 95. Rothbard was like, we're doing this, baby. Like, this is the last time. This is my last hurrah. I'm an old man, and I'm going to go all in for Pat Buchanan. Like, this is the old right that we're going to get back from like the 20s, 30s, and 40s and 50s. And unfortunately, Rothbard is just like, the way to do it, the strategy is populism. And as soon as that was the strategy, and it had been with Pat Buchanan, it had been with the Ron Paul revolution in 2008, 2012, you gave way to sort of throwing out that sort of aristocratic elitism that democracy is like. It's like that Indian guy, right? The people are stupid, and it's now democracy is a government of the stupid.
Osho, yeah.
So
who did nothing wrong, by the way. It was only that crazy woman that was his capo that made it into a whole cult where they took over that town in Idaho. Was it Idaho? Or was
it was Idaho or Iowa? No, Idaho.
It was Idaho. Yeah.
And they didn't they poison a bunch of people as well, right?
Allegedly.
Wow, someone else is poisoning the welfare.
I have Osho's book right here. Actually, it's a huge thing. I can't bash Osho too much, but
well. Speaking of books, today's episode is sponsored by The Civil War and Reconstruction in Alabama by Walter Linwood Fleming. Our good friend, Mr. George Bagby, has done an excellent job at getting this piece of American history back up on the bookshelves. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and where all other books are sold. Mr. Bagby is also on Twitter at Tall Men Books, all one word put together.
Can you
Tall
get that on
Men
Amazon
Books.
too? Or
Yes, you can get this on Amazon. You can get this at Barnes & Noble. And you can talk to Mr. Bagby yourself to see where else it is being
it's
sold.
a Civil War history book written in...
It was written throughout the late 1890s and early 1900s. It was republished in 1906.
Well, so that was during Reconstruction.
Oh, it's during Reconstruction. I mean, this is when it happens, but I'm saying he took the 1906 Princeton republication of it and made a lot of edits to, fix it up and to make it look good. And he's done a really good job. I highly appreciate the quality of this text, and I look forward to digging into it. Mr. Bagby and I will be talking about its time in late January, but we always want to support our friends.
It's not an evil neo-Confederate book. It's an objective
book
no.
of history. If you want something that's a little more spicy, you do Southern History of the War by Edward A. Pollard, who is well known for the Lost Cause narrative. But
whoa,
that's this. Well,
he has a flag in the front.
Well, he was a newspaper editor, and he was the editor of the Richmond Examiner during the war. So
which was the pro-Confederate.
It's not the most historically accurate text because he doesn't have the foresight of numbers or history or records. So instead, what this is just the newspaper articles he wrote in his own personal perspective as the war played out, which I find to be a particularly
I think he interviewed a lot of soldiers, if I recall, as well.
Yes, he did. He did.
He had as a reporter, he had access to a lot of soldiers in the front. So.
Yes, but this is also a reporter in the 1860s. And in wartime, and maybe not having the best access to data.
Southern History of the War by Jay Goldstrake. Have you been keeping up with the Fish Tank season 2?
Nope, I'm just going to rely on you to talk about it, and I'm going to sit back
I
and
haven't
relax
been watching
and
it
enjoy
as
myself.
much as I should because I'm busy, but...
I haven't been watching a lot of content, period. Like, I've definitely fallen behind on
I wanted to watch
Millennial.
the Dave Millennial, but I watched a bit of the Old Glory Club Millennial.
I watched Dave's, and it was exactly what I thought it would be. Like, let's look back on the year, but also let's look back on like the history of all these online movements and groups. And Woes is just like, Dave, you have the patience of a saint to talk to these leftists.
They were. I noticed people were talking about Dave or they were talking about Oren's debate with Peter Boghossian.
I have not watched it. I was half tempted to
Me
make
neither.
you watch it to review it on show, but
maybe. I'll sacrifice.
I haven't watched it. I'm not particular.
Have to skip past all the interruptions by a certain.
Oh, there's going to be a million interruptions, I'm sure. I could just ask Oren how it went, but well,
they were talking about it. I did catch that one part of Dave's Millennial where they were talking about Oren debating, and Woes remembers. He's like, I don't think I remember him, but I remember Peter Boghossian because he was like the new atheist.
Yeah, he was the new atheist.
He was like one of the sort of like tertiary, like he was the B team, where as opposed to the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
So,
he was JV.
Yeah, and so that book that's like totally anathema now in history departments, right?
Well,
or do they still study it just to be like, this is what the evil Confederates believed in? Like,
I don't know. The last, I would love to do like, and maybe I should use ChatGPT for this. It's just like, can you please go through all of the humanities history departments,
the citations of the
and just tell me if the last time Pollard was ever cited, or used in like in a syllabus just for reading on the Civil War.
Yeah,
because that'd be interesting, but these are just historical artifacts. There's also the publishing house that did that one back in Fairfax in like the 80s. They also did one for Lee and his generals, which is a fantastic read. It's a really great book. And then the other thing I'm currently going through is they're all right here. Like there's the bookshelf, there's more books in the storage container, and then there's just books piled on my desk that sometimes the camera catches. And this one's the Babyology from Owen Cyclops. And I quite enjoy it. I like him on Twitter. I liked his little article he did on I Am 1776 about psychedelics and such. But I mean, he's great. And I like his comic style. And he's, talking about all the weird ins and outs of Christianity and being an American and his Catholicism. And it's a particularly weird world to be in, but sometimes in America with the faith and the history of it. But it's He's great, and he and I are now recently mutuals on Twitter, so it was even better to talk about the book and go on about it.
There you go. I am yes, green.
We're just blabbing.
Glass. I'm predominantly left-handed. I'm ambidextrous, but I draw and I paint with my left hand, but I use both my hands, but predominantly left-handed.
It's funny because I'm right-handed predominantly. Like if writing,
you can use your left.
But when I fire my handgun, like if I'm at the range or if I'm practicing, my pistol shooting is with my left hand, but my rifle shooting is with my right.
Interesting. I'm left-handed when it comes to shooting. Interesting, yeah. But yeah, so this is Content Minded, episode 71.
Content Minded?
Whoa.
Fuck you, it's Digital Archipelago.
Fuck, oh my god, that was such a... Because like yesterday I was recording... Sorry, episode Digital Archipelago. I didn't even... Man, I just had like a... I think it's Philip Daniel mentioned Content Minded, but like I interpreted
Which you did put out a new episode yesterday.
Yes.
I was listening to it on my way to church yesterday.
Oh, thank you. But no, because you know why? Because I thought I had this weird brain fart where when Philip posted that, I thought he meant Digital Archipelago. And I'm like, that's never gonna happen because Prude is not into the Australian or British accent. And I'm like, but maybe it could.
No, I'm not. For some reason, I find it to be just an incredible turnoff. Not even in like the sexual sense, but like British men talking, fine. British women talking, it's a little...
Depends what type of British men. I know, but then even the Cockney accent could be kind of entertaining, or the East London accent.
Well, I feel like that accent is permanently ruined by because Americans don't know what that actually sounds like, I think, to a large extent, because
Americans can't tell the difference on average, probably.
Well, I think they can if they know anything about London or England in general, but I mean, like, I feel like the Cockney accent that everyone likes to mock in the United States is just, it's permanently fucked over by, like, Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins, because, like, it's an atrocious accent, and Dick Van Dyke was just like, yeah, it was bad, and one point in time, he actually auditioned or thought about auditioning to be James Bond after Sean Connery left the role. And then the producers are like, your accent, you know, from Mary Poppins, like you'll never be James Bond. And he's like, oh, right.
Penis fan lesbian. That's oh man. But yeah, so please, I've not seen a Sneeded super chat yet. My PayPal is also in the description if you want to avoid YouTube.
We're less than 15 minutes gouging. In, and
we have yet to beg.
You're just you're just waiting for the beads to be thrown at you as you lift up your like e-begging shirt on Mardi Gras.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Exactly. Well, it is our birthdays this Saturday, so
yes, it is.
You know, I mean, maybe we should have a birthday stream.
I've got one scheduled for 10 a.m. Eastern on my channel because I'm going to be busy the rest of the afternoon.
AM or PM?
AM in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know,
awkward pause.
So we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be 2 days.
Kind of like
the
man on X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
how man.
Yeah, the smoking man. Like I always associate him with Nick B. Steves because that was his avatar. God bless that man. I wonder what happened to Nick B. Steves. He like kind of left. I mean, he was already, you know, getting pretty old. But you know, this is old head reactionary, you know, old head blogger sphere NRX reference right there. Does anyone in the chat remember Nick B. Steves?
Oh, if you want old head, we're talking old head. Bob Whitaker's old head, you know, and we owe a lot to Bob in sort of dissident spheres. But this is the book I'm currently reading, the new Wright Papers from 1982. And the version I have is signed by Bob, so it's even better.
Whoa!
But yeah, I mean, it's just been
about Star Trek. That's talk
about Star Trek
podcast network reference. If anyone,
oh no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We can talk about Star Trek. Voyager sucks.
What's the one with the woman? Voyager?
That's Voyager. Yeah. I love her because she's like the perfect example about like maybe women shouldn't be in command roles. Because like one episode she'll be like, "We must uphold the Prime Directive. We cannot give these people like weapons to defend themselves against the Borg." And then like 2 episodes later, she's like, "Ah, fuck it, we're gonna give like the Kazon like quantum torpedoes or whatever." And it's like, make up your fucking mind. Like principles, like this is the thing about like all the other Star Trek captains. Like, well, we have these principles. We have to figure out how to apply them to the current situation. She's like, fuck it. Rules are meant to be bended and broken. And it's just like, it wants so bad to be Battlestar Galactica. And I get it. Moore worked on it before doing the BSG remake later in the 2000s. But it's just like, one or the other, right? Like pick one, it's bad. My favorite of all the Treks are Enterprise, because it's Scott Bakula basically doing like George W. Bush American adventurism in space. And it's a prequel before the original series. So it's like, hey, like, why don't we try doing this and figuring out what this quote unquote Prime Directive is going to be? It's an actually interesting show, but it dies because it spends a whole fucking season doing its like 9/11 series. Because like, some strange aliens like basically nuke Florida and kill like 500 million people. And what do we do?
Oh my god, they had to write in 9/11.
They did a 9/11 story. They did not a 9/11 story. They did a 9/11 season. And it was rough. And then
that was like the West Wing doing the 9/11 bit.
But they did
Oh, you mute yourself, Prude. Prude, you're muted.
Sorry. Sorry about that. But like 9/11, for the West Wing, 9/11 was just like one episode where like President Bartlett's talking to like a class of school kids on a White House tour or whatever. And
just
like
why Bush.
Right. They had to do the Bush thing. And then of course, like the meme throughout the entire West Wing series is like, well, what is the value of a proportionate response? I'm like, well, that really gets cranked up after 9/11 as the show comes to an end. And
oh man,
it's a disaster. And Aaron Sorkin is just like gooning to the idea of a permanent Democratic majority. And he's still
did they predict that the Republicans were gonna like screw things up so bad they're going to be just like Democrats forever? Is that what they predict? Is that what Aaron Sorkin
basically
wrote?
They're like, oh, well, they had faith in that the American people would make the right decision or whatever. Which
god, of
because
course,
like they make like the Republicans of the 1990s, where Aaron Sorkin is like making them out to be evil. I'm like, no, these guys are based like English is the national language, like immigration control, like protective tariffs. I'm like, let's fucking go.
Well,
I wish I had the Republicans of Aaron Sorkin's America.
I didn't realize until I watched this GDF video that how deferential Bill Clinton was towards that nation in the Middle East. I couldn't believe it. I thought Bill Clinton would have bucked the trend, but if actually H.W. Bush,
you don't get that to Obama.
Yeah, we'll get that to Obama, but like, it's funny because that isn't that a large part why H.W. Bush only had one term, is he wasn't like sufficiently deferential, or is that just that was GDF spin on it? But like
H.W. Bush fucks up because H.W. Bush he breaks his promise to the Republican Party, no new taxes. You have the savings and loan crisis, which occurs under his term, which led to a shitload of money being spent in a small mini recession. This rebound.
That was all going to be wiped out by the mid '90s, though, with the Silicon Valley and
the .com bubble comes later, though. But like, and then on top of that, you have like this, like everyone after like the Gulf War, a lot of people thought, oh, Bush is going to win re-election. We just had Norman Schwarzkopf like sign in. We're going to do this war. And like we just kick Saddam Hussein's ass, like we can sort of like withdraw from the Middle East. America is the sole power of the world.
Schwarzkopf was such a character too, eh?
But he was like the last sort of like war hero you get. Like we kind of we get Mattis later on, and of course Mattis is sort of this regime stooge. But like he's like the last.
You see here? This is where we place the bombs. And you like see the camera.
Yeah, right. And he's just like, I really don't want to kill you, but I will. But for Schwarzkopf, he's sort of like this last celebrity military general the United States ever gets. And some were even speculating, well, he might one day run for office. The same thing happened with Colin Powell, especially after George W. Bush.
He was more a media darling than even Westmoreland in Vietnam.
Westmoreland is also seen by many people in the media, the military, not this like sort of this like stodgy asshole, but that's a whole other discussion. Yeah. It's just George H.W. Bush kind of screws up, and there's a recession shortly after the Gulf War, and Yeah, there you go. There's the Bagby book. Click on the link. You're good to go. And Amazon's still processing it, is what Bagby told me, but you can't get it via Barnes & Noble. So it means you're buying from one smaller chain that's not like the Amazon umbrella. But yeah, I don't think the Israelis play as much of a role with respect to H.W. Bush just getting screwed over in the election. Plus Ross Perot. Right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Taking votes away.
We can't forget Ross Perot, who was
well,
absolutely
yeah. We were
right
speaking about
the
libertarianism.
Yes, well, I mean, he wasn't even a libertarian. He was just like a wealthy, independent businessman who would buy TV ads and just explain to people, "This is what I'm going to do. This is how bad NAFTA is. This is the giant suckling sound of American jobs, and the United States is not prepared to deal with the 21st century, but I am. Vote for me." And that was the last really major third-party push to do it. You know, it would be like if Peter Thiel ran for president or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like we've just never, not that Peter Thiel ever would, and he wouldn't be the first homosexual in the White House, but he'd be the first open one. The first major accusation of like homosexuality, I think, came against, wasn't William Henry Harrison. It might have been Harrison, but it was like one of the early 1800s presidents that they accused him of being kind of like an effeminate, F slur. It's funny. Like,
not recently. You notice how except for I shouldn't say Obama, but like that's
they killed Joan Rivers because she told the truth. I'm a Joan Rivers truther at this point.
Oh man, but it's funny because libertarianism back then was like seen as in terms of American life was seen as like the place where eccentric people go. That like if you were politically homeless, if you were kind of a freak, or if you were like a data-driven nerd, like it was seen as almost cool. Like when people like Robert Anton Wilson would go to like Libertopia Con and like all the people that, all of the, how shall I put this? The questioning the age of consent demographic, if you know what I mean. Then libertarianism under Ron Paul became more of an organized thing, but it became more of like white middle collar, like not white, like predominantly white middle class, white blue collar type of movement, to which Ron Paul, ultimately fails in the end, or rather, they made sure he failed. And now that libertarianism, I think, has gone back to like being a party of freaks, but like a different form of freaks than just like writers and business people that were eccentric, or people that were data nerds like Ross Perot, that had some kind of neurodivergency. Now it's like the polycule freaks, the teapot freaks, this part of Twitter, these, the Silicon Valley. Well, I mean, I guess Silicon Valley was always latched onto the libertarian thing from a very early age, very early time, like when we read the California ideology. But it's like, now libertarianism, it's like, it's no longer like working class forms of, get the government off my back, or like Ross Perot with his like economism or whatever. Now it's like, Kathy Riesenwitz with an OnlyFans type of degeneracy.
Yeah,
so libertarianism went through phases in American life.
It's IAEA forms of libertarianism.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but I think like it is funny how it's a uniquely American creation in liberal free market libertarianism, because libertarianism in terms of socialist libertarianism means something entirely different, especially in the European context.
Oh, yeah.
But like in America though, like it is funny how that form of libertarian, and there is an anarchist tradition. I mean, Emma what's her name? Goldsmith, Goldwater.
Something you'd put parentheses on, yeah.
Yeah, like there is that strain of like anarchist left libertarianism that in America there was a lot of like socialist realist painters. Emma Goldman, thank you, Philip. But you know what I mean? Like there was that. But I think like when it comes to like what people consider right libertarian or free market libertarian, like that is a very uniquely American thing. Like, well, I don't know. Could Max Stirner? I mean, well, I don't know. Do we live in the Stirnerian century? When you think about it, maybe we do. But I'm a gold striker. I don't know about the like. Okay, my criticism of Fish Tank season 2 is that they're kind of like they're screwed up, but they're higher IQ than the last contestants. So I don't envision a lot of the same drama or like throwing bodily fluids at each other. But it's sort of like I do imagine a lot of backstabbing and nitpicking, and well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I haven't been paying as close attention to it. The 70s theme is kind of throwing me off a little bit. But it is funny how like people forget the 70s in terms of popular culture. Like it doesn't seem to capture the imagination the way the 80s and the 90s do, or even the 60s. But I guess like we're eternally enslaved through the boomer truth regime to, always repeat the 60s over and over again, which I guess could be a good segue into William Gibson's documentary. Yeah, Fish Tank season 2 is too self-aware. Exactly, Gloff. Yes, it's too self-aware in my opinion. But anyways,
this
about
is what
the eternal
happens
60s.
when you're too meta.
Yeah, true. It's when you're too meta. Like season 1 was such a brilliant like theory cell exploration for me, but season 2 is sort of like they're making it into like an ironic self-referential game show. So it's like, and the contestants know about season 1. Like this is clear. There are clips where they know about the lore. They know who Vance is. They know who Josie is. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe they just have to bring Letty on to just piss on everybody. That'll spice things. Or they'll bring Frank Hassel on to just like destroy the whole place again. Like again, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Is this going to be one of those shows where is it going to be like Lost or like Heroes, where you have like this god tier first season, and then the rest of the show is trying to live up to the first, knowing it never
pretty
can?
much.
There you go, guys. There's Fish Tank season 2 review, and I've never watched it. I am now the Zizek of movie reviewers. Like, there we go.
Well, it's funny they were gonna have a black guy on, but they're like, well, we can't subject. Like, no way we're gonna subject him to our audience with the TTS. It's not gonna happen.
I wouldn't subject the other contestant. Well, that's a whole other story. Yeah, like that'd be bad. Like, hey, $500, and you gotta like say the N-word for it. Like, it's over. It's over.
No, because well, they can control the TTS
24 hours 7, like chimp out on Fish Tank, and it's like, nope, can't risk it. Can't risk it. Can't risk it.
But yeah, libertarianism, I think, has found a lot of. And it's funny because like you have to realize that the documentary we're covering is from 1999, so you still have this sort of like Silicon Valley utopianism where the California ideology does have that libertarian bent to which maybe people like Peter Thiel operate under. But it's weird because letting technologists do whatever they want is the primary directive. And I think like an ideology of self-creation and self-direction like libertarianism is very inherently sexy to like these data nerds, because I think that a lot of it, and I know this is like a cliche criticism, but a lot of it. Oh, wait a second. You're derailing my point, Arsenius, because Jimmy is our guy on Fish Tank. Okay. Jimmy is a Paul Cell and he's our guy. So I am a Jimmy stan. Okay. How dare you? I'm about to ban you from the chat. No, I'm kidding. I'll never ban anybody from the chat. Unless they're, doing whatever. But my point being, so the Silicon Valley thing is that I know this is a cliche criticism, Prude, but like a lot of those people, I would say the teapot rationalists, like this is Arsenio said, never ban you. I would never ban you. You're my Janny. You're my number one Janny. Why would I ban you? So anyways, I'm getting derailed. Like the teapot rationalists. This is
why I never watched chat.
Yeah. The Ayala people, like they like not the Ayala people. The Ayala people are like a progression from the big Yudkowsky, big Yud, less wrong, Silicon Valley tech bro nerds, right?
Yeah.
They don't like think of the rest of humanity as having a lower capacity than they themselves in terms of self-regulation. I shouldn't say that.
They have that weird like quasi blank slateism where like everyone can be as enlightened and as rational as we are. Like it's this very old liberal like idea towards people, and they're like, anyone can be part of this thing of ours, right? And it's just like, no, they can't. And that I think that's the big fault.
Yeah, people of Ayala,
people, the Ayala people, that
Ayala Americans.
Ayala American. You know, my fellow Americans, my Ayala Americans, you know, like
Oh,
that's.
I was like in the group chat we're in. I said, imagine if Ayala was a man. Imagine the atrocities that would have been committed.
Oh man, if Ayala was a man, we would have had like super AIDS like 3 years ago.
It would have been airborne.
Would have been airborne. Like San Francisco, like permanently domed and quarantined because of like, you know,
escape from San Francisco.
an airborne pathogen of acquired immunodeficiency syndrome.
And then you have to like bring in Snake Plissken to fight off the AIDS zombies to rescue
escape from LA, and it's just like a bunch of like degenerate like, you know, code monkeys with like AIDS, and it's like. See, we never had a zombie movie. Like, this is the thing where, like, the whole E. Michael Jones thing, where it's just like horror is our return to baseline or whatever. And it's just like, I don't think we ever had a zombie movie that was like explicitly like, I'm afraid of AIDS. Like, you know, because there was this huge like zombie revival with John Romero.
It was too politicized.
Not John Romero, what's his name? George A. Romero. And it was just like, you would have thought we would have had a more like explicitly homophobic zombie film in the 1980s.
There was a few indie films that were explicitly homophobic.
It's just very strange because like that was like the perfect medical crisis to have a zombie movie about.
Well, there are some academics that say that the AIDS crisis, like the rise of the zombie movie, preempted the when did the
very first movie, Night of the Living Dead, it was 1967.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, you know, 10 years before like AIDS kind of like comes into the mindset of the.
If you believe the official narrative, yeah.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like for the media to report on AIDS, it's like a decade prior.
Oh,
right?
Dad, 19.
So I mean, like 1967, right? I'm almost positive it was right. Night of the Living Dead.
Well, because
1968. So 1968. So 68. This is all like that movie's on race. Like the movie ends and it has an explicitly racial ending. Black survivor, black man killed by the cops. Whereas, you know,
but Romero, he eschewed any social criticism, if I recall.
Oh heavens, no! Like Night of
really?
The Day of the Dead, the original one in the 80s. Like they're in a mall, and it's just like he has this very on the nose critique of consumerism. And
you mean Dawn of the Dead? Yeah,
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
So no, there's social commentary throughout all these fucking movies.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, like Dawn of the Dead is like a critique of consumerism and
like because they even have this whole bit where like the zombies are just sort of like they're in the mall.
They're compelled for some reason to go to the mall.
Yeah, they're compelled. Like this is all that they know is to like go and consume, and it's just like, oh gee, you know, I wonder what that's about, you know. And the same way that They Live is about like consumerism, and it's just like, man, the aliens and They Live is better than whatever shit we got now. That's kind of sad.
That was when they brought back the original actor from Dawn of the Dead when they remade it with Ving Rhames and Sarah Polley. Oh my god, I hate Sarah Polley. I'm glad she got her teeth knocked in the Mike Harris protest. No, I'm not saying that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. I take that back.
Whoa, Gio, you're a woman respecter. Well, you can't be saying that.
I know, but it's Sarah Polley. But no, I mean, you know what's so frustrating is because she's like the most like fedora tipper, lived out actress in Canada, which is saying a lot. But I gotta admit, she is a good actress. I did like her in The Sweet Hereafter, and she did a good cover of that Tragically Hip song Courage. So for that movie. But no, she was pretty good at Dawn of the Dead. But they brought back the original actor to play the TV preacher.
Yeah.
He's like, you people, you let men marry each other. You kill unborn babies. When no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. Like they brought him back just to like say that.
Just to be right.
Just to be right.
Just to be right.
We're making fun of him, but he's...
I know. But just to be right, you know. Well done.
Oh, it's like
like the more I look back on that time, I'm like, wow.
The more the evangelicals,
the more these televangelists were like 100% right. Shame they didn't fucking do anything about it, you know.
Like Jerry Falwell's comment about 9/11,
or his commentary on fucking Hurricane Katrina. It's just like,
oh man, that was.
Just like, you know.
What do you say for Hurricane Katrina? I think I remember this controversy.
I think it was about gay marriage or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you got a point.
Remember Kanye? George Bush.
George Bush doesn't care about black.
Kanye's been a celebrity. George Bush doesn't care about black people.
And what's his Mike Myers is just standing next to him, kind of like awkwardly, like, I don't know what the fuck to do here. This is a live telethon, and it's just like, okay, Kanye, right? Okay, Mr. West, we're gonna.
Oh man.
On.
Nowadays
he's
that
doing
George Bush cares too much about black people.
Yeah, whereas nowadays, Kanye West is doing the like racist GC, posting.
George Bush really does care about black people. He paints them.
George Bush really does care about black people because he is the number one. His anti-AIDS HIV initiative has probably been one of the greatest, reduction of deaths in Africa ever.
There you go.
So yeah,
he's total black life.
Like, the ultimate BLM protester is George W. Bush. Like, that's how much George Bush thinks Black Lives Matter. He has saved untold millions of mosquitoes from AIDS.
Yeah. A lot of them went to Europe, too. Because of wars that he started.
Yeah. See, when Barack Obama said he fundamentally...
He really does he really does,
He really does.
He does like black people.
He paved the way for Barack Obama. George Bush walked so Barack Obama could run.
That's right. I
should tweet that.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. That's right, the AIDS thing. What was it like? Because I remember when we were reviewing Kink, around the early 2000s, they had anti-AIDS drugs, they had retroviral drugs, but they weren't as good as nowadays. And so did gay people still die?
Yeah, I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not a homosexual. I don't know.
No, but nowadays they have a normal life expectancy of like 70 to 80 years.
Well, because they can take those like the Truvada stuff or all these sort of pills where
it's to prevent getting AIDS, but
the HIV part, right? To be if you're undetectable, you're untransmissible, right? That's the whole narrative that they sell. And on occasion, like if you're watching like on a streaming service or even on television, they'll like have ads for like once a day like HIV pill or whatever, and it's all explicitly black people or like they're gay coded, but like they're always with the company of like a heterosexual like couple, so they're like the gay third wheel. So it's never explicitly like, hey, this is explicitly for people that engage in homosexual risky behavior. You too, straighties, can get HIV or whatever. Yeah. And I love how those commercials they're very coded in like the most politically correct, but like, listen, if you already know, that this commercial's for you type deal, but it's they're almost very black.
That was like the one where it's like a Hispanic guy, but like it was like they tried to pretend that like doctors are still like Christian homophobes or whatever that don't know about gay people. Like it was so stupid. But no, but the thing is they say like a lot of older gay people, they're like they tell the younger ones, they're like, listen, you don't even want to get it because apparently even with the retrovirals, HIV can still really like you're still predisposed to certain cancers and heart attacks.
Oh yeah, I mean like the disease, the side effects of the medication.
You don't want to get AIDS. Put it
really
that way.
Bad.
Yeah.
Like if you have HIV and you're taking like some retroviral, if you're taking some kind of, don't be gay. Long story short, don't. And if you
are, even Truvada they say is not 100% effective either.
Well, no, and the side effects for it are apparently really fucking bad to like your liver and your kidneys and put you at risk for cancer. And it's just like, don't do that. Don't. Just don't. Nancy Reagan was right. Just say no.
Just say
a homosexual cannot enter you legally without your consent.
You
don't want to get a yeah, right. Welcome to episode 71, where we say the obvious shit and we never get on topic until an hour in because we've got covered the news and bullshit first.
Yeah, AZT was deleting them. Yes, this is true. Like, I mean, you can blame a certain man for that with the AZT thing, but we can't. I don't know how far we can get into that about YouTube and all that.
No, maybe we should just stop talking about AIDS.
Yeah, listen, we at the Digital Archipelago, we greatly admire and respect the work of Dr. Fauci, and he did no wrong whatsoever.
That bathhouse pioneer, Dr. Fauci. We salute you.
Listen, in this podcast,
in this house, we believe
in science. We believe in masking, and we believe in.
And we believe that Dr. Fauci is single-handedly
is a hero, a public
for
hero,
AIDS.
who will get the Nobel Peace Prize one day. We believe this.
He will get the Nobel Prize in medicine for the creation of HIV.
So,
Dr. Fauci, you know, secretly our guy. Like, oh,
he's our
thank you for
guy?
your service, sir.
You mean to tell me that he was lowering the Olympics? No, I'm kidding. No, that's terrible. No, listen, that's terrible. Like,
you're telling me this guy batched more, you know, than the
like
Westboro
we
Baptist
joke,
Church?
but what happened to those gay guys was generally terrible, and you know, and what he did was just absolutely
you can go
monstrous.
look up the crisis yourself. I'm not going to tell you to look
Yeah.
up pictures of it, but the people who were infected, the Kaposi sarcoma,
Yeah.
not a disease you want to get, but also
They
at
died
the
a
same
terrible
time, don't engage in that behavior.
But yeah, and what Fauci did was like truly monstrous. Like, let's not even joke about it. What he did was truly monstrous.
I first heard of Dr. Anthony Fauci via the Sallow Forum. And so when the whole COVID thing started and I saw him being appointed, I was like, we're screwed.
Oh, we're done.
We're done. Like, this country's over, right? Like, for however...
Before we could cope and just say it was gays and drug addicts. No, now it's everybody.
Yeah, now it's everybody. And what's
we're
worse
getting the loving medicine, the loving hands of medical grace from Dr. Fauci.
We're getting Dr. Fauci with the double cup of lean. And it's just like... And I first heard about it through the Sallow Forum, and then it's like Trump's like, you know, this is Dr. Deborah Birx, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci, and I was like, we're
done. It's over.
We're so fucked. And I'm like, I'm looking at this, and I have this sense of dread. And my mom and dad are like, why are you looking like this is the end of the world? And I'm like, you don't know what that man's.
You don't know what this man has done. You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. And then, of course,
found more in the Kaposi sarcomas. They found that poppers didn't have a contributing factor. There's debate, like even back then there was a South African doctor that debated whether there was another retrovirus that went undetected with AIDS, because all of a sudden by the time you hit the 1990s, it's almost like Kaposi sarcoma disappeared from the symptoms of gay men. But that is a weird like mystery about the HIV crisis. Is that like why was Kaposi?
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Can we stop?
And they still don't
AIDS?
get it that much.
Can we stop talking about AIDS?
All right, let's. It's just whenever I don't know. It's a very
the world is
topic
a place
because
doesn't mean we have to talk about it.
I know, but because of the Sallow Forums thing, it's a very interesting topic for me. I don't know why.
I mean, it was that's a terrifying thread, and then of course
it is,
has to shut down the Sallow Forum to interview fucking Glenn Greenwald. Hope it was worth it. I hope it was worth it.
I hope it was worth it.
So you can repackage and sell us the AIDS story on your paid Substack.
Oh boy, but thankfully Chadnet has preserved all of the Sallow Forums threads.
Yes, thank you, Chadnet,
including the
normie
sadism one. Wait, Ron Unz is an AIDS denialist? I didn't know that, Alex. Oh, I don't know. I'm not an AIDS denialist, but I do think that the origins of it are quite sussy in terms of the official narrative, like that it ran in Africa for a long time before it like exploded in the 80s. Like there, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But I do believe that HIV causes AIDS, of course. Like that's, you know, I know they don't know the exact.
In this podcast, we believe in science. You know,
we believe in science, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, in terms of the origins, it's kind of murky. But when it comes to the actual mechanism, I didn't know that Ron Unz was an AIDS denialist. That's crazy.
Well, speaking of drugs, retrovirals, and nanoparticles, why don't we get to this bloody documentary?
All right, finally. Because the more we talk about AIDS,
we're 43 minutes in and we haven't talked about the topic. And
Prude, I think like people think that, you know, if you're right wing, that you're like this monster anti-humanist. But I mean, you know, I have supreme sympathy for people, and you know, having known gay men in my life, you know, it's like I don't hate people. It's just that
most of my college professors were homosexuals, so I mean, I've heard horror stories of the AIDS crisis from older like gay men, and it's just like. Sounds terrible, but in the back of my brain, I'm like, well, maybe don't engage in that behavior. But you know, well,
you know,
get some help.
It's tough. Yeah,
it's tough. You know?
Anyways, moving on. So, for those who don't know, William Gibson, he wrote other books, but his famous magnum opus is Neuromancer.
Yeah,
which I believe. What year did it come out?
It came out in 1984.
Yeah, and it was way before. Was it before I Dream of Electric Sheep or after?
Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep came out
Yeah,
well before.
yeah. But Neuromancer, I think, had a different take than a lot of what Philip K. Dick was writing, and it really, I mean, even the term cyberspace would then become popular parlance.
That would
And
come in that came out in his Burning Chrome, right? His other book in 82.
Mhm.
Because the only books of his I've read are Johnny Mnemonic and Neuromancer.
Oh, nice.
So I've not read anything else he's done. So my exposure
Well, those
to
are the two
Gibson,
big ones, though.
my exposure to Gibson is incredibly limited because he's written dozens of other books and he's collabed with a lot of other science fiction writers, but I'm like I don't know him very well. So this was an interesting conversation because this documentary came out in 2000, turn of the century, turn of the millennia, and the man who was seen as sort of this prophet, and to some extent he definitely is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a really interesting documentary to listen to him talk about everything from drugs to sex to religion to technology. And the thing that always stuck with me is that Gibson, like McLuhan and others, was just all of our technology is just an extension of the conscious self. And
Yes.
what better proof of that than us looking at our phones all the
um. Well, maybe we'll get to news items near the end of the program, but I don't know if there's any recent. Well, there's a thing with Yemen, but
Yemen, the Red Sea stuff, the Colorado hearing or the Colorado case. There's a lot.
Oh
of
yes,
to talk about. Yes. But let's get to the documentary first.
Well, Bruce Sterling is actually in the documentary Green Glass. So one major thing I think in terms of the biographical nature of it, because so in 1999 they fitted a car with a camera, and it's William Gibson driving around in the back seat, and it's got this really I like this. This documentary is such a nostalgia piece for me. It's got the jungle music, it's got the flashing animation, it's got the early 90s animation. It's it's really I love this thing. I love if I would like to create content like this if I had editing skills, but unfortunately I don't have that much editing skills. But I would love something like this, just rapping, and I think it's
I'm thinking about doing something like that where I can just put my phone or my phone somewhere in my dashboard and just record while I drive and just riff. Because I'm gonna go because I'm taking New Year's off. I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go visit my best friend from high school and college in North Carolina. So I'm gonna go on this long drive from where I live. And I thought, well, why don't I just record or go live, and just ramble for several hours. And then I thought, well, that might be kind of fun because I like this interview style where just Gibson's smoking a cigarette and he's just in the back seat and he can just go off on whatever the hell he wants. I was like, there's sort of this gonzo free flow style to let this man who's been thinking about everything, his whole life, whether how to be a writer, what's the future of science fiction to where the technology is going. It's really interesting stuff. And I was like, this is actually a really good format for a man who is, he's still around and you can, he still does interviews, but it's just, this was probably his best interview out of all of them. Cause it's just this is giving some of these definitive thoughts on what is to come. And it's that early 2000s, late 90s optimism about well, we don't know where the world is going, but at the same time, it can be incredibly adventurous. And Neuromancer is of course this great adventure story, but it is something about the technology where there was this idea of freedom and to rebel and to be renegades, and of course in that very sort of old school stick it to the man punk sense.
Johnny Mnemonic is like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Johnny Mnemonic is like that. Neuromancer especially is like that, and it's a the guy, of course, is the one who lays the foundation for the cyberpunk genre as we know it. And it's just really there's both a dystopia, but there's also the tool. It's very kind of has that sort of Marxist kind of we will sell the capitalists the rope that they'll hang themselves with type deal. We can use the technology the regime gives us to destroy them with it, and kind of that Nick Landian disintermediation is inherently anti-cathedral. But I don't. 23 years later, in present era, our minds are fundamentally rewired, as he talks about, with cyberspace and jacking in, right? We're all on our phones all the time. Damn kids always on their phone, and a weird world.
And I think like a biographical point would be that
Go ahead.
that William Gibson, he comes from a very displaced upbringing and like, boarding schools and everything. And then he eventually ends up in Vancouver. And so I think like, and also the nature of the documentary being filmed with him rapping on the back of a car during a journey, just like driving through Carolina, driving through, different parts of the States. It's very reminiscent of in like what Baudrillard talked about with America being the place of travel, being the place of the open road, the desert. And there's something inherently American about cyberspace as well. And it's, it's a
Well, it's
reason.
American because it was the information superhighway. Like that's
Yes.
as American of a linguistic term as it gets to utilize
Yeah.
the word highway, right?
Exactly. But it's funny because it's something uniquely American, and it's crazy how like most of the culture industry throughout the world that's spread by the internet is American. Like during like the new American century, it's because there's something very almost spiritual about the way that there's always a process of frontier and deterritorialization and exploration, and then eventually like this reterritorializing. Because William Gibson in the film, he has this bit about, and I think they tried to like restore the center of Detroit recently. He has this bit about how they were debating over what to do with the center of Detroit.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, why don't we just let it reforest, rewild, let the feral animals reign and just like do nothing, let it collapse, right? Let it just,
because there's that reference to RoboCop too.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Well, why not? Why that's a better alternative. He's like the rewilding's the better alternative than letting these guys just buy up the city.
Exactly. And so plus it's like we can't get people to live there for some reason. I wonder what reason that could be, the crime and so forth.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, but it's like, then this is like the more just alternative. But he's saying like when you think about that, think about the birth of the internet being a total accident by way of the State Department and DARPA creating a system of communicating with different missile silos that even if like a total city was glassed, the whole like continuity of government, which, in conspiracy circles was a big phrase, like Alex Jones would always used to say that continuity of government. The internet was basically created as a mission to ensure the continuity of government in case that major American cities during the Cold War were totally glassed and went offline, quote unquote. By going offline, I mean millions of people dying, and infrastructure being blown up and so forth. But like the internet was a total accident. And William Gibson says, if the people in the Pentagon and the State Department and in DARPA, if they knew that this after effect of their program was the creation of the internet, which was basically coordinating already existing computation systems that both the American government and university systems had. Yeah. He's like, what would they do? Do you think they would probably have like squashed it in the afterbirth? Do you think that maybe they would have potentially gotten rid of it or quietly if they would have known like the way that, and again, this, you have to realize this is the mid 90s, this is the early 2000s. This is when the idea of like the liberal end of history was still very much present. So he's like, the internet's going to make governments irrelevant. And so do you think they would have sort of gotten rid of this pure
God, what optimism.
Yeah, what optimism, right? In fact, it's probably made it worse.
The idea that we could have used this to get rid of government.
And as a side note, Prue, did you see that interview? I think our good friend Chenian tagged us. Did you see that interview with Fukuyama? That little
I did see it where he was just like suppressed speech. We have to eschew these 19th century ideas of the public.
Yeah. And so, in other words,
again, because what is
the end of history being organic was total crap.
The end of the same way that the end of history was totally not organic in the Marxist sense either. Like the end of history must occur by proletariat revolution. Like the end of history for the liberal must occur by the liberal state killing all dissenters. Like who would have guessed that all these communism, of course, an offshoot of liberalism. It's just like who would have guessed that these guys would have had the same sort of parallel logical conclusions of like let's just kill millions. Millions must die for the end of history to occur. Like what this weird genocidal Kiliastic vision of the world.
No, but it's funny because I think that's why Nick Land is so threatening. There was this guy who was part of the old guard of NRX. I think his name was NMH something. And an old thing from 2020. I remember this guy, he like DM'd me too. He's like, you're choosing cloud over posting, blah, blah, blah. You're addicted to this. And he like unfollowed me. We were mutuals. But he had this point about Nick Land. When I asked him, like, isn't this just nihilism at the end of the day? And he said, and he pointed towards this Eflux journal, which is the art journal.
Mm-hmm.
It was like these different academics that wrote these blurbs about this gallery, and Nick Land was one of them. He talked about this infinite K, or like this like the Egyptian Ong symbol, right? The sun symbol.
Yeah.
It's like infinite K, like as a process. And I remember this poster. He goes, the only nihilism part of it is that Nick Land, what he does is he takes that very same Marxist equation of the engine of history, but instead, the engine of history is no longer in the hands of the proletarian of the world, or the bourgeoisie being this conscious agent driver of the development of society within the capitalist system. They're no longer the engine of capital. And the proletarian is no longer this weird moral consciousness that has to realize themselves as a consciousness, take over their species being, and then enact the revolution, right? Yeah. To Nick Land, this other almost exoplanetary intelligence is that engine, and it's out of human hands. And by definition, that is almost sort of like nihilistic in the sense that not only is it out of human hands, but this other planetary exoplanetary intelligence, its full realization is a post-human realization in the most starkest of senses, not the post-humanism of, say, someone like, I don't know, Donna Haraway or whoever that has this sort of like utopian, we're going to redefine the image of the human. It's literally
into the Cthulhu scene, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The Cthulhu scene is like literally after the human. And so in that sense, it is kind of like Nick Land is the ultimate nihilist in some ways, even more than Stirner was.
Well, Stirner is envisioning it's kind of funny because, like, if you read like Antonio Gramsci, right, he'll be like, well, socialism is sort of like the religion that most hi Grayson, that Gramsci would say that like socialism is the religion that most overwhelmed like the Christian Europe, right? Whereas I feel like you look at sort of the sort of scene with like Nick Land or Haraway or some of the other writers of that space in the CCRU too. It's just like, well, like the engine that can overwhelm not just religion, but overwhelm
Mark Fisher.
Oh yeah, Fisher especially, right? But like, the capital engine, especially with this technology, can be the machine that overwhelms humanity.
Yes.
And Nick Land is like, bring it on, right? At least his early writings do. Nowadays he sort of embraces that nihilism, coldness be my god type deal. But you kind of notice that, again, this sort of through line, or maybe this Minsky-esque K line of like, what can we overwhelm? Whereas, and I think the reason why like Land can be dangerous, depending on how you read him, or is just the sole nature of the fact that like, this is the way things are, optimism is a bad idea.
You can't fight it. Yeah.
You can't fight it. The revolt against nature is hopeless. Optimism is cowardice, but like, you can embrace it and we can escape this, section of the fake and gate world that we live in and enjoy it. Or, you can do what, as he writes in The Dark Enlightenment, right? Like, you can be those like few neo-reactionaries that have stocked up on like canned goods and like hard currency and try and survive the zombie apocalypse. And
libertarians.
Those are your two choices.
No, but that's what I mean. That's like, imagine an infinite K line that goes on, that like, that's basically what he meant by the Ankh, the Egyptian Ankh K line. And it's funny because the other academics, they were talking about like installation art and how that sort of like creates, there's this one that I might say in my book about installation art, how that centers this union between politics and art. But Nick Land said, in a way, Land would say that like the work of art is everywhere because it's the ultimate, like, what is not the ultimate work of art, but to create something that essentially supersedes the human itself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a very horrific type of way of looking at things. I remember I went to grad school with Landian, and that we were talking about, I think someone was talking about poverty in the third world or whatever. And he said that basically, humanity has too many beautiful things to create to worry about, like, mouths to feed. And that are never people that are never going to be productive ever. And I'm like, oh my God. At the time,
Department.
I was like, yeah.
So he was like, I've read The Bottom Billion, like I burned that book. And it's just like, oh boy,
No, he like said this and I was like stunned. But then later on, who knows that this would become like the orthodox thought of the era.
What is that? I think I
have
The
Bottom Billion?
Yeah, I think I have it somewhere.
Oh,
I'm looking
man.
for it on my bookshelf somewhere. I'm like, I've read that book. I was not particularly impressed. But yeah, I was just like,
we have we have better things to do.
We got better things to do than to like feed the billions in the third world. He would have gone Kent State on those like billions for space, pennies for food protesters.
Oh man. You know what's funny is that, and it was funny.
Is this effective acceleration? I don't know, Mark Andreessen, but it could be. It could be.
Acceleration. No, it's funny because that was also a neoliberal kitsch type of design, where it's like, billions for space, like no, but like someone did like a digital poster of it.
Yeah, I know.
It's all
it was cringe as could be.
Flat design humans, and
they do it for Elon Musk now all the time. They're just like billions for space when they're like, oh, Elon Musk could like solve like homelessness and hunger, and it's just like, at least Elon had the balls to be like, give me a plan that says I can do it, and I will. If not, shut the hell up. And when he did that with the WHO or whatever, I was like, that's what you need.
No, but like the thing of things is like one human race is also like suspect. It's like one of those assumptions, images of thought.
Well, this is why I laugh really hard. Have you seen any of the television show For All Mankind?
I think I have.
The HBO show where like the Soviets were the first to land on the moon, and it leads to this like space race where we never gave up on it after America won. And it does this alternate timeline where like Reagan wins in 1976. We have a lesbian Republican president in the 1990s as like the sex game. Anyway, so like what makes me laugh is like, how in video game reviews they love that word ludonarrative dissonance, where like the play style of the game or the mechanics of the game are actually in contradiction to the narrative of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's sort of this like.
Will be a good example from a video game.
A good example, I think, of maybe like ludonarrative dissonance would probably be. Here's an example of what isn't ludonarrative dissonance. The indie game Braid, right, using time travel mechanics, and you're utilizing time travel, but towards the end, the twist is like through your powers of time manipulation, you're actually the bad guy of the story. Like that's a good example of doing it. Whereas like, maybe the newest form of God of War could be ludonarrative dissonance, because like you're not really doing much. You're watching a movie, and like this isn't contributing to the storyline. It's a buzzword that people like to use. It's a whole other story.
That was like that one Indiana Jones film where it didn't even matter at the end that he was there.
Well, yeah, I mean it's the newest one, right? Like it doesn't matter that he's there. He's just there to like beat up on like old Whitey. But
I think Raiders of the Lost Ark, like the storyline itself would have happened with or without Indiana Jones. I forget, people debate this point.
I have to rewatch it. I haven't watched it in years. I haven't seen it in years. But the point, I just like in Raiders of Raiders of the. Oh, I don't know. I mean, would they have really stopped? The esoteric Nazis from.
Well, they got melted by the Ark, right?
Well, sure, but I mean, more Nazis would have came, and they would have seen.
Yeah, that's what people say. They would have opened the Ark either way. Yeah, exactly.
But like then they would have sent more Nazis, and they're like, well, what'd they do? They opened the Ark. Well, keep that shit closed, Like,
well, that is the debate among nerds. But anyways, go ahead.
So anyway, so like, and For All Mankind, like they just sort of double down on this, like DEI progressive, like liberalism, like we can all. They're trying to say this is how America could have done it. This is how we could have had like our heckin' moon bases and colonies on Mars, like that really angry millennial, like I'm supposed to have flying cars by now, and instead I got to argue with you, like the whole movie Bob rant.
Yeah, I got to argue with chuds.
Yeah, there are 4 seasons of this television show where it's like Earth is moving on to space. We've got private space corporations and XYZ. The one thing I do appreciate about it is that it does recognize that there are multicultural issues that have to be addressed, and that leads to conflict in space. For instance, I think there's an episode where they have like a Mars colony or whatever. They're starting to exploit resources. And it's just like, well, how do the Muslims on Mars like pray to Mecca? Like how do they get in that direction? How does that work? But it doubles down on this like
a calculator, yeah.
Right. But like you have this problem of like the world coming together. Like we have a G7 for space and all that. It's got it tries so hard to be believable, but with this like sort of like progressive neoliberal vision. And we look at the neoliberal world that we have today, and you're like, huh. Well, we know it doesn't work.
It's trying to be a more realistic Star Trek, in other words.
It's trying to be a realistic Star Trek, right? And here's the spoiler alert, guys. Everyone needs to remember, Star Trek is post-apocalyptic fiction. Billions are dead from nuclear war and from genetic wars before the Vulcans ever
that's right. Khan killed millions of people.
Well, yeah, you had the whole World War III. You have the genetic or the eugenics wars, as they're known.
And it's from the Asiatic powers.
And it's from the Asiatic powers. Millions die. Zephram Cochrane is like out of Bozeman, Montana. And I know too much of this shit to get into it. But anyways, I always find it funny watching this show. And I stopped after the third season. I'm just like, this is unbelievable. Especially after the whole a Republican wins instead of Clinton in the 1990s. And turns out she's a lesbian. I'm like, get fucking real. But it's just... that sort of
Republicans could run a lesbian now, probably.
Like and she would be like a very performative lesbian, if Nikki Haley was like a performative lesbian, like
she'd win for sure.
Okay, because imagine it, like a neoconservative lesbian. This is establishment Republicans. Hear me out.
Well, Dick Cheney's daughter is a neoconservative.
Yeah, but early on, Dick Cheney also had to disavow it because the Republican Party was still pretty anti-gay at this time.
Yeah,
but in 2023, because it's all so depressing and failed and sad. You've got the
great. Be distinguishable.
No. It would be a performative lesbian. So she would be like, listen, like, I'm going to do what needs to be done. I'm going to get in my Subaru and I'm going to go down there and show Hamas what for. And just like beat them up because that's what they do is they beat each other because there's no consent in lesbian relationships outside of the Subaru dealership. So why not? Like just give me...
What does consent look like in lesbian relationships?
I don't know. I suppose how we talk.
There's no penetration. I mean, unless there's artificial penetration. I mean, there's.
It would be like it would be like the Dutch, the Dutch boy in the story of the Netherlands. Like it would be the Dutch boy asking if they could put their fingers in the dike. I don't know. I worked really hard to get there on that setup, you bastard.
I don't know. Lesbians in real life are not as hot as what Prawn makes them out to be. Okay.
No, they're not. They look like your weird aunt with a short cut hair instead of knitted.
No, but even the ones that do look good, it's not. The vibe is all off. I don't know.
Yeah, because porn is bad for you.
Yeah.
Simple as. But the reason why I brought up For All Mankind is that it tries to sell you this vision of what could be the future or how the future would work in this sort of world and this alternate timeline where, America didn't abandon its space race after winning it, et cetera, et cetera. And I when I listened to this documentary and I was watching it and listening to Gibson talk, he's got this strange sense of, the military could destroy it. If they knew what they had unleashed, would they bring it down? But in reality, and I think looking back on it, because we're watching this documentary 23 years after it came out, in reality, yeah, it's so true, Marbly.
So true.
It's so true. Did you see that article? We're defending it.
Yeah, a brave act.
The Anne Frank comparison.
Oh my god.
Oh
no, I just read the title like it was a brave act of gay love.
Anne Frank gets name dropped in that article.
Oh my god. How does Anne Frank play it? Remember they tried to do this thing where Anne Frank was a lesbian? They tried to do this thing like academics. They tried to... You never heard about that?
Oh, well, I mean, I just know all the censorship controversy. There's a lot of...
What website is that? I saw a bunch of those articles.
There's a lot of controversy behind that diary. But I mean, no, they were like, oh, well, when he got a hold of it, he was like really disturbed that his daughter was like touching herself and all that jazz. And it's just like, well, you're up in an attic and all alone for hours and days on end. I mean, well, what else was going to happen? What do you expect? Oh man, I just thought of the worst Twitter account name possible. I'm going to put it in private chat. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Oh man. But no, but it's funny. How did Anne Frank get name dropped in this article about
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Let me pull it up. Yeah, let me see if I can find
terrible.
it. I know I might share that in the more
Imagine you tweeting that one.
I wouldn't tweet it. I wouldn't tweet it. Are you crazy? No one should. See, anytime I have a terrible thought, I put it in someone like one of the random GCs I'm in. They're like, you should tweet that. I'm like, that's for you, buddy. That's for you.
So,
that's for you.
Chat. Sergey just said it.
Oh, did he? Let me. Yeah, thank you, Sergey. That's exactly what I thought of.
I've actually seen Anne Frank Groyper before.
I've seen that, but anyways.
Yeah. No, but how did they manage to fit that narrative in about? Because I think
it was
correct.
hidden.
It's gotta be
hidden.
I'm
not positive that site is serious. See, here's the thing: is I saw a website that was that had the whole anti-chip movement about people like putting chips in their skin or whatever, and I thought that was a satirical article. And then I went to the website, and it's like a radical alt media journal for like Afrofuturism, and like they were playing it dead serious. They were like blaming it on white people or whatever.
No, but this site, the other article is.
I'm sure it could be. Who knows?
It could be like Real Raw News.
But I trust Real Raw News.
No, it's true. But can you imagine like a live version of Real Raw News? That would be.
Yeah, it's called the Washington Post.
It's called the Huffington Post.
Real Raw News for the left wing is just the mainstream press.
John Teeter equals him. Maybe no, but then John Teeter was actually a dude because didn't Art Bell interview John Teeter, or who claimed to be John Teeter? So
I believe so. It was like an exclusive thing.
No, but what site was it called? What site?
I'm trying to find it now.
Yeah.
But then I saw yesterday, apparently there was a second, scandal that happened.
Oh, there was another one?
Yeah. Grayson Quay, I love Real Raw News. But yeah, like Real Raw News for just libtards is just like the mainstream press.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not an honest journalist on God's green earth that's like, well, that's not true. There are some honest to God journalists out there. They're like,
they have to go along with it.
Yeah.
That's the shame. But anyways,
Real Raw News: Marines arrest Colorado Supreme Court justice who voted to remove President Trump from state ballot. Yeah.
There's probably is that a real
arrested, executed, source the military. God bless America. And it's just like I love Real Raw News. Like it's
that was like with the one about when
I want to write about it. It's like it's the best form of performative right wing fiction I've ever seen.
The best was when he wrote the article about Alec Baldwin being arrested by the military. His last words were, go to hell, you bastards.
my honest to God favorite out of all of these was the.
They put X comments up now. Oh my God.
Oh, they do. Look at that.
Well, that's
Real Raw News is unironically NPR. Yeah, they're quite literally libq. Oh, it's so true. They do put up Twitter comments. That's fantastic. Let's go.
Our good friend Pim. Go and follow Pim. Well, his name is US Slav. So
yeah, I follow him on Twitter.
Good friend.
Yeah, Real Raw News is unironically NPR. That's very true. Oh, that Grayson says it's a real headline. That's very true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this is why I laugh so much at that stuff because I want to write about it as like Real Raw News is the greatest piece of like right wing art.
Oh, definitely.
It
it really is poetic. It's poetics of the right wing. Yeah.
It's so good. It's
NPR for Maka Boomers.
Oh yes, they did. They did do that, Grayson. Yeah,
they did do that. I remember yes.
When did they do that? Was this? This had to be like the last few years. NPR.
No, this was like was it during the Obama years or was it recently under Trump? I forget.
Nope, November 3rd.
Trump isn't that recent.
November 3rd, 2022, from the National Review is talking about it. National Public Radio chose to broadcast the audio of a woman getting it. So no, this was in 2022. Oh my God, they went full. They did okay because we watched the show, and unfortunately, I introduced you to it. There's an episode of BoJack Horseman that came out in like 2017, 2015, where the whole episode is about abortion.
Yes,
and they decide to fake an abortion procedure live on television to quote unquote normalize it. And NPR decided to say that's a really good idea. So they just broadcasted a murder in 2022 live on air.
Well, even on early YouTube, they had this. I remember this one article. This was during the Obama years.
Wept. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that was real.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I remember feminists. They tried to do this thing where they tried to progressively like destigmatize the procedure, but they realized that people aren't going to go for it. So like, yeah,
oh my,
they
did that. They did that right before election and the midterms. Oh my, how did I not see that? Oh.
Yeah, they did that thing where they're like, we should probably kayfabe this, because there was attempts to do it back in like, I believe even like the late 90s. They tried to put it on television, but they're like, yeah, if people actually saw it, they probably wouldn't get one. So they're like, we better. Yeah, well, Silent Scream is also they made a fake one when they could watch the Silent Scream. But then I remember like a bunch of like, well, actually nerds, they try to like debunk the Silent Scream. But anyways, we should get back to the documentary. This is kind of I remember back in early YouTube, they had this like there was like, I remember reading news articles. There was like this atheist YouTuber. See, this is how much of an old head I am, okay? They had this atheist YouTuber. Her name, I believe, was Angie the Anti-Theist. And she did this stunning and brave thing where she like took the pill on film on video. She like took the morning after pill or whatever. Or it wasn't a morning after pill, it was like an actual like abortifacient pill. And she's like, this is my brave stance. And of course it was all over like Jezebel and the Huffington Post. And yeah, this is Angie. I wonder if she's still around.
Let's go. I'm gonna go look her up.
Yeah, we should look her up. But
I am right now. Angie the Anti-Theist, WordPress.com.
Oh God.
Is she still around? Is she still around?
It was on YouTube.
Blog move. New year, I'll be moving to a new blog, Misandry Angie. Oh my God.
This is such a time capsule.
Oh man. Steven Pinker, white supremacy. Now we're talking about homelessness. Now we're talking about poems. Oh wait, I believe Dr. Ford. Oh, because about Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh man, it was so much better when she was just an atheist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the thing about I think she stopped writing in 2018, or at least in this blog. What a weird time capsule of
yeah.
trad wife now betting on it. Yeah, maybe in a nice reformed Jewish family. I don't know. Gonna go look her up now.
Is there enough money among the right-wing patrons?
Introducing Burning Bridges. Last video was 8 years ago. 10.8k subscribers. I have more subscribers than Angie the Anti-Theist.
She only got those subscribers for doing that video. Oh, you did the dab.
I did the dab.
Yeah, imagine the horrible childhood that created something like her. Yeah, exactly.
I just feel bad for her.
I feel bad for her too, but
like she's like Norwooding.
Oh man.
13 years ago she was Norwooding.
That's rough.
That's rough.
Man. The elusive female Norwood.
I don't think it's that elusive. I think it's way more common than people realize.
Yeah, but see, women they lose their hair in patches, not like men. Men have
we lose it in that weird like
male pattern baldness.
Yeah, it just goes back really further. Your head gets bigger. That's really what happens.
Amy Tree, don't say that, Green Glass. Don't say that. That's oh man.
Oh, she's trying to compete with H Bomber Guy. Male pattern ball, but yeah, look into the Ludwig scale. That's true. That is the female.
Oh my God,
it's the Ludwig scale. Looking that up now. Yeah, because it starts.
Well, you guys don't think Amy Therese is attractive?
No.
Oh, you guys are mean.
No, by voice alone. I don't know what she looks like, but no.
She had the recent selfie. She doesn't look that. She looks so.
No.
She needs a good man.
No. Well, yes to that part, but the rest.
Yes,
no.
to that part. She needs.
Many women have foreheads
that are after skull.
And see, they say that the skull extension
It's
Anunnaki stuff is
aristocratic
fake.
though if a woman has a big skull, like it's a sign of intelligence.
She's the descendant of all those Anunnaki extended skulls people.
There you go. But anyways, moving on. So, what was your initial impressions of the documentary?
No, God, it's a fun show.
Yeah.
No, the documentary to me was just this particularly
Talking about
interesting.
AIDS, new atheists.
New atheists. Oh, speaking of techno optimism, did you read Curtis Yarvin's latest?
No, I did not.
He's like the
is it
techno
worth it?
pessimist manifesto, and he's just like, if you want to be an optimist, you should go to Johannesburg or Leopoldville and tell me how optimistic you are.
Oh
He's
my
just like,
God.
hey, white man, hey, techno optimist, look at South Africa, look at Africa. You optimistic yet? It was like
imagine
it
him
was
and
like
Andreessen in a
it was an
debate.
incredibly racist. And he's just like, listen, buddy, you can try and build Elysium, but human biodiversity leaves no one behind.
I wonder what
like,
him and
holy
I wonder if him
shit.
and Andreessen would be in a good debate together.
I would love that debate. I quite enjoyed the Robin Hansen Moldbug debate about futarchy, where he was just like, futarchy's retarded, and here's why. It's like, yep, I can appreciate this.
But I think that's what I mean. Like, I think the problem with the rationalists is that they really don't, like, there's some of them that are kind of getting to the racist point about human capital, but then they have these like libtard priors that they will never like truly admit that all people, regardless of things, are not the same, and that actually intelligence isn't a property to be acquired, but intelligence has a lot of hard stops. And I think like even in this documentary, you do get the sense of like, there was that one part that he said that I found really profound, which was which he talked about Jameson's postmodern divide, where you have a sense of loss, but also that sense of eternal Christmas morning, that you were excited about the possibilities. But then even still, I wonder if you were to interview William Gibson nowadays, looking back on, because this came out in 2000, but it was recorded in 99.
Yeah.
It's like, that still is very much like a 1999 sentiment. Whereas now we just have that sense of loss. And that sense of Christmas morning has been stolen. So Jameson,
isn't it sad that our sense of Christmas morning comes from like the carefully curated news headlines of like the algorithm? Like, we get excited when quote unquote something happens, right? Like, that's our Christmas. Oh, a fresh present of like awful, terrible, like slop of news. Like, oh man, the Colorado Supreme Court just gave us something to talk about. Like, we are it's not
even normies can talk about
it's not Christmas presents, it's slop. I mean, like, because it's something for us as vultures to go through, as carrion birds, to like dissect and to get into the insides of and talk about this roadkill of a news story. And in a lot of ways, we're just these sort of disgusting scavengers. But I feel like by saying that you're a scavenger, it acknowledges, in some instances, at least as humans, that we're very post-apocalyptic in that sense. Like, we kind of do live in Gibson's Neuromancer in some respect, where there is this dystopic control. Our friend, he's gone through several Twitter accounts, but he's the Nando that noticed, right? Base Quetzalcoatl. And he points out that like Cyberpunk 2077 is the ultimate cyberpunk game because it illustrates sort of the kitschified corporate advertisements with like the mixed race couple talking about how like the Second Amendment's not just for rich people or whatever. And he was just pointing out like, this is the perfect American dystopia because that's what it is. And what I liked about it was just this fact that the world as we know it, we're there in that dystopic future. And I mean, that's sort of the dissonance of cyberpunk, right? Like, we find it to be cool, while at the same time it's depicting like the worst aspect of our future of like a totally corporatized state public-private partnership that has managed to thrush out any semblance of like religion or humanity. We're all now based in this extension of ourselves. And so we have this sort of like digital noosphere, right? Like, we're all in this sort of collective, like right-wing sphere of like Twitter consciousness if you're on Twitter. And if you're not plugged in, you're plugged in somewhere else, either with your games or your normie social media, etc. And it's this strange, it's very, the real cyberpunk dystopia, as Louis Cachet says, is very boring and sterile. And it is.
Oh yeah,
because
100%.
it's not the adventure that
It's a
we
digital
thought.
goon cave, essentially.
It is, it's Plato's goon cave of just online pornography.
No,
where
but even when he said that about religion, like it's a patch more than anything nowadays.
it's a patch, but he uses his franchises, and this is But it was very funny how he described religion. He's like, well, I don't buy into it, or it's not for me, because he views it like a franchise thing with all the denominations and churches. But he's like, it's like a chicken franchise, which I thought was very funny. He's like, but that doesn't
chicken
mean
is real.
Yeah, but he's like, but chicken is real, like if you're into chicken, like the chicken's right there, and you can go find a particular brand of chicken, which is very true. Whereas
I love chicken.
Chicken's great. We love Chick-fil-A, but like, it's just one of the things that really stuck out to me about it is that, maybe there's a way for the individual to escape with technology, and that was particularly interesting. But the worst part about, because and again, I think it comes with that early 90s end of history optimism that it's prior to sort of because what's the thing that we always sort of laugh about, Gio, is that the new atheists, it acknowledged two things at once, that science and evolution is true, but everybody's equal. And those things do not work very well together in the sense of like human biodiversity answers the question. And then like, well, either you become a raging liberal or you become like an HBD.
A total like racist.
Total alt-right, like whatever, right? So like he has this like optimism, like, oh, anyone can jump in, you can be a part of anything, this, that, or the other. The problem is
you
that
really can't.
Cyberspace as we know it, because it is so centralized, is because like, what is Twitter but like the everything? It's the discourse app. It's a place to make money. And I think Morgoth is incredibly right in his observations about what Twitter is turning into. And what's
what does he say about Twitter?
Well, it'll be the everything place. Elon Musk wants it to be the everything place.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, I feel like, and I said this last night with Mr. D's Twitter space, was just that if this becomes the everything app and some people get unbanned and come back to it, cool. But the problem therein becomes, all of a sudden, we are sort of I still think we're going to get like an adpocalypse style deal. Some people come back and then, someone will get banned. Like, I mean, yes, Elon Musk is probably right that he's doing what he's doing, and he's better than Parag Agrawal or Jack Dorsey.
There you go, Sergey. Exactly.
They didn't count on reality being illiberal. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, same with all techno optimists. They never counted on the stop to it. But anyways, go ahead, finish your point, because
So I mean, this optimism, it's such this like frozen and amber late 90s, early 2000s. We've won, guys. We've triumphed over religion. Our humanity can be ascended by our own means.
Enlightened by our own intelligence.
Enlightened by our own intelligence, as the Reddit meme goes. And so for me, listening to him talk, I mean, one, it's incredibly fascinating. I liked the thing about him becoming a writer. That was the most interesting part of the documentary.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
About being a learned man and an interesting man, and talking about like William S. Burroughs and things like that. But, to listen to him talk about technology, he was right about it becoming an extension of ourself. He was right that it can be a weapon used against us, but it can also be the weapon that can bring down governments, corporations, and etc. I don't think he ever counted. Well, to some extent, he does in his writing, but we live in a world where our ability to resist has been quashed to some extent, because the digital noosphere that we live in, it also has the state part of that noosphere, and it does monitor us, and it does keep track of us. So I mean, some of there's this uncomfortable, and Gibson talks about this in the documentary. He's talking about it 23 years ago, 24 years ago. I'm talking about it now. Both of us are sort of recognizing that there is an uncomfortable battle happening in the background for the future. In some places, it's happening in like the Santa Fe Institute. It's happening at MIT. It's happening in DARPA about mad comms, artificial intelligence, large language learning models, but also social dynamics, social ecology, and how that can be manipulated in order to ensure that people come to a central focal point on how to change opinions and how to get people corralled in the right politically correct positions. I don't care who made up the meme. To me, at the end of the day, I think that, the whole QAnon stuff, that had to be developed in some think tank. That had to have been developed
100%.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And I want to know where, because that is the most powerful weapon I have seen ever unleashed from like a social mass ever. Like it was so.
It truly is a
so
mind
good.
virus for boomers.
It was, and it was so good. Yeah, but Gibson was also right that cyber would fall out as a descriptor. Absolutely, it's the net, Twitter. I mean, the same way that telephone has, we just say phone. It's not a telephone anymore. It's just phone. We don't even say smartphone anymore. It's just phone. We take that for granted.
But I think that
remember when cybering was the idea of just people trying to have like intercourse on the internet?
Yeah, now it's people still use that term cybersex though.
I guess I don't know.
E-sex.
I like to access the internet several times a day. I access the internet with those old CDs that you could get with your box of Wheaties for 500 free minutes on AOL.
Man, those were the days, eh?
Those were the days. Back when the internet required you to, wasn't so ubiquitous.
But it's interesting because I think that a lot of the like Silicon Valley ideology people, the optimists, they didn't anticipate the hard limits of power, I feel, on the internet. They didn't anticipate like that governments, in some ways, their powers would be more entrenched, or they could use non-state actors to their advantage. They didn't anticipate that there would be hard limit on speech or what can be conveyed through the internet. Because I think that when the normie world invaded the internet, or rather the internet was grafted onto the turbo normie, a lot of things just couldn't be allowed to happen anymore. You couldn't have like, a crack instruction video on YouTube, if you know what it, like, you couldn't have.
Oh like, man, 2006, 2007 YouTube.
Yeah, or like people teaching you to do like illegal bulk carriers on your your Glock or whatever. Like you just couldn't have that. Like it, you know what I mean? Like you just couldn't have a lot of things. And when Fukuyama says that, the whole like organic thing about the end of history being crap, and actually we have to force people into certain forms of speech to ensure the end of history. I mean, that is a powerful way of looking at the formation of ideas and ideology and how that becomes, I know it's like an NRX talking point.
Well, and
that becomes a social technology. Ideas become a weird form of social technology, but that must be regulated.
If you can weaponize that, though,
yes,
that's I mean that's what Gibson was talking about in his work. Is that what is cyberspace but a mass consensual hallucination? And for us, that might be our Weltanschauung, our worldview, our state of mind. This is,
and he links it to psychedelic drugs as well.
Yeah, right. And he talks about ayahuasca in the documentary. Very fitting. To both that land shark tweet, my own concept.
The land shark, getting like one shotted by a demon, like
or
the most painfully bourgeois normies are the ones
or the concept of cyberspace being a digital ayahuasca. So looking you under the sun in that respect. But one of the things that sticks out to me was that a mass consensual hallucination in computer networks, and for us, right, like what is that other than what Wilfred Bion would describe as a basic assumption group? We all agree with this like mass, this basic assumption of how the world works. Like, oh, I'm a Nietzschean. Oh, I'm a Fuentes fan. Oh, I'm a Bath guy. So we're all part of these like mass consensual agreed upon worldviews, basic assumption groups, or mass hallucinations within cyberspace. And so in some respects, Gibson was right. I don't think what Gibson might have predicted was how quickly that could be turned against regular people fighting each other on the internet. Like there was that tweet today that went viral about a woman talking about Ethiopian food, and it looks disgusting. And she just tweeted out a while back saying, this tweet made it to the racist European side of the internet. This shit slaps, you're lost. And I'm like, okay, you can eat the slop all you want. I ain't eating that shit. Like I like a fork and a knife with my food.
Apparently Ethiopian food doesn't even look like that, or is it meant to look like that?
I don't know, but
I don't know either.
It just does illustrate. That Gibson and McLuhan being correct again, that exposure to the other people.
Conley Jugput did that. Yeah.
Anthony Bourdain, slop unknown. So true. I'm so glad that has the chat function now for Twitter. That's so good.
It's amazing. We can really connect with the audience.
You really can. See, chat is the third co-host of the Digital Archipelago.
No, but it's funny though, because I think like you were saying about what was that video game term? And it may because you watch hours upon hours of Patrician TV,
I love Patrician TV. He's great.
I should start watching, even though I'm not a gamer. But like What was
I'm
the term you used?
never gonna play Starfield, but you bet your ass I watched that 8-hour fucking review.
8 hours on Starfield on a shitty video game.
I love him. He's great. He's fantastic.
Oh, what was the term you used, Prude?
What term?
Like the dissonance between the world of a video game and the actual mechanics.
Oh, ludonarrative dissonance.
Ludonarrative dissonance. So, like, for example, I guess I think people have a ludonarrative dissonance when it comes to history, in the sense of popular media that is controlled by libs. They have this like very like the sort of meta text or the image of thought that people have when it comes to technology and development. Like, imagine if, and I think a lot of like smarter people or activists in the political left are starting to realize this, the way that internet technology has aided like very reactionary forms of thinking, like hate facts or whatever. And I was thinking about this. I had this tweet, but maybe I should run it by an American if this makes any sense.
Sure.
But I was thinking about,
American,
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But American that knows about the in and outs of American governance, right? I had this idea of tweeting. Do you know how like people talk about the living tree of the constitutionalism, right?
Like the living document deal?
Yeah, the living tree document thesis. But I was thinking like the predication, and I think this comes from like the liberal American system, is that it's always like people on the right wing, they're like they're originalists, and it's like you have to preserve the Constitution as a sacred document. And like the living tree thesis is always like it's going to go down being like progressively more lived, right? But what if there was like a living document thesis, but like only towards the political, like what if the end was towards the political right instead of the left, where the right wing changes the Constitution?
That's just like, isn't that just like racist liberalism, right? Like,
right, exactly.
I mean, like that. I guess that would be like Teddy Roosevelt style understanding of the Constitution. That like America's democratic system is like the most effective way for like the white race or whatever to like compete against the world. You know, the colored.
That's
world.
what I mean. Like, what if you change the Constitution, but not being like a lib, but like the right?
You'd have to. Well, where does how? Okay, the same question I always ask for, like quote unquote racist liberals is like, well, how do you get there?
Right.
I mean, like we're so permanently programmed by.
But we see the flaw in like worshiping the Constitution as like Jay Burden had this question.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess as someone who was raised and has a deep reverence for the founding fathers or the Constitution, like to me, to some extent, Philadelphia is kind of this like quasi-sacred place because like there's Independence Hall. This is where the Constitution was debated, and right across is the National Constitution Center. There's a bust of all the founders inside. There's the statues, and it's just for as Protestant and like almost atheistic as America is, or and a lot of its founders were, like there's a lot of like Catholicity sort of type understanding.
There's a lot of that sort of like you know, Catholic bombastic.
We love it.
The imperial cult like, of America.
And so to walk into the National Constitution Center and to see, you know, these arguments and to see like a bust of Alexander Hamilton and the others, it's just like, as an American, and especially as someone who was raised with that sort of worldview, that's a very sort of sacred feeling. And that, of course, that doesn't exist.
Oh God, Prude! Oh my God! Really?
Not anymore.
Me, because I'm not American.
No, not anymore. But like, you have to understand that that was part of it. And for a lot of Americans, there's still something there. And even like, I mean, why would I as an American want to say that? Like, it would feel very traitorous to just say, throw it all out the window. You know, like I want to reject my history.
But I guess by the time NRX came about, like that was the thing. Like maybe we should throw it out the window.
Well, and
like libertarians in a wrong Paul
to some extent, you know, there are definitely parts that would have come out. Like for instance, I think one of the greatest tragedies in American constitutional history and jurisprudence is Marbury versus Madison. The guy that wrote the fucking Constitution, the father of our Constitution, is all of a sudden like dicked down by the Supreme Court of the opposite party, because all the Federalists became Supreme Court justices, and they're told, you know, actually, no, we have this like power to like interpret the law and the Constitution. You're like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And so that unleashes this whole lengthy history of just new powers enumerated into the Supreme Court that are not originally written. Like, imagine being James Madison. You're like, whoa, what the hell is this?
No, but that's what I mean. Like, you'd have to and there's a debate, like,
well, and I mean, this,
from
and
a right-wing
ironically, this
perspective,
is what
is the Constitution a right-wing document, and should it be? And why do the left, like, why are they so intent on changing it or amending it towards their favorability? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, really,
Yeah.
you'd really have to undo the war in court for a lot
Yeah.
of that.
yeah,
But also, like, Jackson knew the court's place. That's very true. The executive just said, well, they've made their ruling, they can enforce it, right? Like, that's definitely the right way to go about it, I think, in some respects. Like, oh, Roe v. Wade is like the law of the land, let's force it. You know, I'm still going to do X, Y, and Z. Like that. And again, that would raise a constitutional crisis. And America's Constitution, I think you could argue, died in the 1860s if you wanted to. Nowhere in the Constitution was it said that you could secede, or that it was a voluntary contract, forcible by law. But at the same time,
that was kind of gone after the Civil War. That was over.
you could argue it was even gone even earlier, because like a lot of Yankees were like, well, this War of 1812 stuff sucks. This like Missouri Compromise sucks. Why don't we just leave?
Yeah.
And so that
We don't care about the British anymore.
well,
Yeah,
we still don't have the world's best relationship with them. As special as we claim that it is, there's still a lot of animosity. And it's just the sacredness of it. Yeah, you could argue, it has to die or whatever. But also, you're asking people.
But do you view it as a right-wing document, Prude, or no? Or it's something beyond that?
I view it as a document written by people that were terrified of what they were birthing. And I view it as a document, and maybe I should write a more fleshed out opinion on this, because this is a big reason why I hate live streams, because thoughts are never fleshed out or complete,
right.
And they don't age very well sometimes. Is that, like, for instance, our conversation about like the whole Rufo thing last time, I put more thought into that, and probably my opinion from last week has definitely changed.
Really? How has it changed?
Because I was more critical of him in the last video or the last stream, and now I look at it and I'm trying to reappraise it, and I'm still thinking about it. So it's like, who knows? Maybe I came too hot off on under the collar in my rant. Who knows? But I think that the Constitution is a right-wing document in the fact that they were looking towards Greece, they were looking towards Rome, they were looking towards Switzerland, and looking towards the ancients more than they were their contemporary Enlightenment thinkers. Everyone likes to say John Locke and etc., but these guys were quoting the Greeks and the Romans and so on, more so than they were anything else. And these guys had a deep understanding of history, and maybe it was Whiggish, sure, but they had the understanding that they were birthing something that, historically speaking, does not work. How can you make it work? And
you mean a free republic that is?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it wasn't a free republic.
No,
I mean, like, the idea of being a member of the House of Representatives was equivalent to the Virginia House of Burgesses. Basically, white owning males can only vote and hold office. Like, maybe that wasn't so bad. And
no, but what I mean is, like, they were birthing a nation based on an ideal rather than a collective sense of history. Or,
well, I mean, you had 13 people that distinctively identified themselves by the regional identity rather than the American identity. Like, this is where the reconciliation and the frontierism of America was the quote-unquote Americanization, also the reconciliation after Reconstruction. But I mean, prior to that, I mean, why does General Lee go back? Because he identifies more with Virginia than he does with America as a nation. My loyalty is to Virginia first. And that's incredibly respectable. I mean, that's all dead now, but back then it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
And so
even Sherman admired Lee. Like,
well, how do you balance 13 regional identities with 13 very different economies, with different religions, different peoples, and how do you bring them together under one government in the face of its newfound form of independence against larger powers that would love to see it fail? And to me, I feel like that's still very, very, at the very least, it has the root of wisdom. And it has some, not to play off my own name, but like the Latin root for prudentia, right? To be.
He said the word.
He said the word. He said it. But he said
it.
Thank you, Peter. That's why you grow out the goatee, to hide the ball chin there.
It's true. It is true. I do have a dull.
That's
I would
fun.
look weird. Like, I should show pictures when I had it shaved in high school. I should show pictures one time, but anyways, yeah, go.
Yeah, so I guess to me it's the argument about how we're birthing something that's still new, but we still believe in it, and how do we prevent the disasters and errors of the of previous republics from failing. And of course, it did come with the caveats, like free white males with immigration, a strong, virtuous, religious people, a republic if you can keep it. Obviously, we failed on all three of those things. But I don't know if it was innately left wing. I mean, you're talking about constraining absolutism, and I mean, an absolutist can be a tyrant, and I think to constrain tyranny is still a very right wing ideal, because a tyrant can be entropic. Tyranny is a byproduct of entropy.
Right.
So they're trying to fight that off.
Well, and you can argue that a republic based on learned and high status men is also another ancient ideal, as opposed to just absolutism. Absolutism,
it's aristocratic.
As we know it,
it's aristocratic.
Yeah, aristocratic. Yes, absolutism is a relatively new idea in terms of the development of the ancient regime is different. I mean, this is too juvenile, right? But to answer Donald Trump gaming, I believe that yes, Canada did at one point, but not anymore. And one day we'll go over it. But no, I think what's funny, Prue, the way that you laid it out, it reminds me of. Not reminds me, sorry, it's not an original thought. I don't have this, this is, pretty cliched American history. But in a way, it's almost like the conditions of different regional identities coming together under a single force without external powers wanting to destroy it in its afterbirth. In a way, it's almost natural, that they look towards Rome. Could they not have looked towards Rome? You know what I mean? Rome was a very natural.
I mean, read the Federalist Papers. I mean, the
Roman Republic was a natural fit.
But they're also their name. I mean, they Publius, right? Come on, it's I like it's like the Twitter meme, it's everyone's been trying to recreate Rome since Rome,
Exactly.
I mean, even the Great Game, right, between Britain
and I think
and Russia, who is the new Rome? Who is the new Jerusalem?
Oh, it's definitely Moscow. But anyways, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, it's between America and Russia.
It's between Washington and Moscow.
Tocqueville was right. It's between America and Russia.
Even Tocqueville saw that?
Yeah, Tocqueville was
back then?
Yeah, and his observations on America.
No, but I mean, the Russian part,
the future, the powers of the future are going to be between Russia and America. And so when people make the whole claim about Rome, right? It's those two. Rome is home. Come to Rome, Prude. No, Jorge. I'm not going to go to Rome.
Well,
I've been to Rome.
The Soviet Union was also an attempt at that sort of I guess Hawes would say this. It's an attempt at the aristocratic form of Roman republicanism, but only communist. If that makes, I guess, I know Logo believes that, but with China. But in a way, you could kind of
Sorry, I had to
do the hand. Yeah. No, but in a way, you can
Caleb Malkin's fucking CPI conference or whatever.
Geez.
What is it with all the socialists getting me too'd, man? I'm waiting for the Hawes sex scandal.
Did he get me too'd?
Caleb Malkin had some sort of sex scandal or accusation.
Oh God! Oh my God! You think Hawes is next?
One can only hope.
Man,
one can only hope. You're telling me
wasn't he dating a Redux writer? He's playing with fire there. If he's dating a Redux writer, yeah, that's pretty. And it wasn't Anna Slatz. It was another one. It wasn't her.
Could you imagine those two together?
Oh my!
Imagine Annie Slatz and Hawes.
I think Hawes.
This would imply that Hawes interacts with women in a heterosexual manner, which we both know doesn't happen.
Hawes has a very strange animus against women. You went off on Amy Therese and just insulted her and.
Well, let me just it
is Amy Therese. I know she could be annoying.
Let me gain some weight real quick and just pull on my Carl Benjamin outfit. I think this just might be horseshoe theory, just what is it with the far right and the far left having issues with women?
The far left actually does have surprising issues with women. People don't realize this because they have this feminist cover, right? But even feminists themselves,
it's the stone toss sexual predator meme.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of those leftoid Marxoid communes in the 60s, they were run by sex predators that used it to
Charles Manson would like a word with you.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, hey, Jim Jones was also he did quite a bit of
good friends with Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi's family. Great
Communist,
Democrat, great
loved the
communist.
Soviet Union.
Love the Soviet Union.
Yeah. It's too bad they didn't affect the Soviet. That would be interesting if they would have lived, but like they would have like followed through their plan to
That would have
defect
been
the
an
Soviet
internating
Union.
international scandal.
That'd be like
that would be really interesting if that was the world where Jim Jones and his like trying to explain, calling up
Mr. Nixon, you have a bunch
Mr.
of black people.
Jim Jones just killed like 600 black people and outside of St. Petersburg. What do we do? I imagine the diplomatic incident
they would
that
have just set up a commune in the Soviet. Like, can you take your black people back?
Yeah, when did that actually?
Just like Brezhnev.
So yeah, it was in 1978. So it was with Jimmy Carter.
Oh, Carter! Oh, even better.
Could you imagine?
Even better.
Could you imagine?
Now listen here, friend. I know you have a bunch of these cult members in the Soviet Union, but maybe you guys treat it like a little vacation. We're gonna put them in Siberia. I don't know.
Instead, it's in like the jungles of Guyana or whatever.
How would they have done that? Defected the Soviet Union? They probably could have crossed into well, I mean, Soviets had allies in near that region, so
I mean,
you never know.
Let us not forget our favorite BoomerCon talking point that fucking Bernie Sanders did his honeymoon or vacationed in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, he did vacation in the Soviet Union. Where they could have put them in like Dagestan, or they could have put them in maybe they would have put them in like Estonia.
Yeah, right.
People's Temple, Estonia.
I mean, like Lee Harvey Oswald married a Russian woman and brought her back.
There you go.
I saw that Louis Cachet that Jackson Hinkle
and his Russian
wife
bride
or girlfriend left. I mean,
got Putler.
So Jackson Hinkle's gonna do like the Richard B. Spencer turn, right? Like,
he'll be a total pro-Ukrainian now.
Yeah, right.
Imagine if Jackson Hinkle, like, he just does a 180 and he's like,
does the 180 turn where he just,
guys, Azov is pretty based.
I can't wait. Just saying, like.
But anyways, we should move on because it's been 2 hours. We still haven't covered the full documentary.
Well, what else to the documentary are that interests you? I liked the part where he was talking about like becoming.
Well, part of being a writer, you wanted to talk about that.
I thought that was one of the most interesting parts of the documentary, where he's just rambling on. And he's just like, well, because he loved the beats. He's talking about William S. Burroughs, and he was talking about, to his university professor, like, how do I do this? And his university professor just totally burns him, and he's just like, well, most writers live interesting lives. And he's like, I did not live an interesting life at this time, being as a younger man.
But it's funny because sci-fi became a necessity to him because he had to find a way to move characters in space.
Yeah.
That literally, like, because that is kind of hard in literature to like describe motion. So he's like, how are we going to do that? And he's like, he came up with a proto like Star Trek, like a Star Trek replicator type of, or like,
Yeah.
He came up with different devices to do it, which is very interesting.
Well, I mean, this is why sci-fi is like, and we covered this before, right? But like, it's the fundamental mode of the 20th century for fiction. You had the science, the growth of technology, the warfare, but also the optimistic liberal hope that it could somehow bring about utopia. This byproduct of the Industrial Revolution. And for Gibson, much like Dickens in some respects, right? He sees where this could fail and where it is failing, and he writes about it, and that's where he brings about this new world.
But another thing too is that I think the response to technology is interesting. Like, there will be people that reject it, but yet the people that reject it make careers off of being terminally online. And it's kind of like it's like this writer. Let me look it up. It was in that Nick Land thing that old NRX account linked to. It's from eFlux, and it's like a bunch of different writers, and one of them is Nick Land. It's all from the New Center. Conversations. Where is it?
Conversations that matter.
eFlux Conversations. This is from 2016. And this writer, What's her name? Oh my God, Peter Wolfendale. Oh,
Oh
there you
man.
go. Peter Wolfendale's in this one too. It's from the comment section. Let's see. Patricia Reed, that's her name. Art critic and writer. She talks about like how like how like in terms of the scalability of the internet and how like when you talk about the techno feudalism and how actually the progression of like the liberal assumption about technology can be wrong. But she says a very interesting point, even though like she probably is a lib. She says where is it? She says like about like what when you have like a more of a right-wing framework around technology and power and so forth, what is the assumption there that we're overlooking? One of them is a transparency of power. Again, to go back to an ancient regime or to go back to a regime where power is sort of transparentized in a way that it isn't within a lot of like liberal systems that have developed out of like, planetary managerialism. So let me look up the exact quote about right-wing reactionaries. Social revolution. Wait, where is it? Anyways, go ahead, Prude. What did you have to say about? Oh, here we go. I found it.
There you go.
About artificial general intelligence, the evil CEO model, blah blah blah. She says that.
I guess here's an interesting bit, because we were talking about I was talking about this in the little private Telegram chat that I have, very exclusive. The Laspus guy, or he's like the 16-year-old hacker or whatever. I don't know how old.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a super autistic guy, 18-year-old. The cybercrime hacker, and he was part of he had attacked the tech giants Uber, Nvidia, Rockstar Games, cost the firm $10 million. Anyways, he's permanently going to be set. He's not going to go to prison. He's in a hospital forever until he's deemed.
Didn't his old man work for Rockstar?
I don't know.
Really? That's how he got it leaked?
Maybe. But the fact is that he's like a very young guy and like violently autistic. And like that, there's your cyberpunk dystopia. So that the state just institutionalizes you for hacking.
Yeah. Let me read you a bit. This is a lot of theory cell stuff. Patricia Reed, Politics, Complexity, Epistemology, Machine Coupling. Patricia Reed's talk takes place. So this is a review of different talks that people give in 2016. And one of them was Nick Land, who writes a review of his own talk, if I recall. Patricia Reed's talk takes place within the locus of epistopolitics, so epistemology and politics, a forking of Foucault towards politicization of the ramifications of knowledge through pursuit of tools and apparatus of framing, unframing, reframing, in order to rethink and ramify epistemology to address the scale of what we are faced with having to think about. In opposition stands the threat of non-future, of debt slavery, and planetary catastrophe. So envisioning, I believe, what Kudu Iswa talked about when he talked about Nick Land. He's the guy that wrote this thing about electric music and accelerationism. He said, the hostile futurity of Nick Land, that is a non-future, right? Because Nick Land is saying the non-future is going to happen. The future will happen without us, in a sense, in a very real way. And so in opposition stands the threat of a non-future of debt slavery, planetary catastrophe. Currently, the emergent response to this threat, and of course, Patricia Reed's talking about Donald Trump because she's writing this in 2016.
Of course.
Right? It's E-Flux. What do you want? They're a bunch of art F-slurs. Like, I am an art F-slur. Here you go.
Just saying.
Currently, the emergent response to this threat, which has seen the fastest rising discursive success on the internet, lies in the right wing and arguably highly integral to the threat itself, techno-feudalism, which seeks to strip us back to a more traceable social forms, whether military, debt-based, or localist, and minority technoscope ideologies, of which transhumanism, the private space flight/colonization industries are exemplary. Patrica seeks to instead post AGI, artificial general intelligence, as a site of intervention for new incentives that can reclaim the task of scalar politics as a brand of good abstraction against the presently more typical left-wing response of complexity fatigue.
Sorry, I'm reading chat. Someone just goes, Jesus, lefty word
salad. No, but let me make sense of this. So in other words, the right wing after 2016 wants to take politics and ground them into what is traceable and recognizable, rather than the politics of like total managerialism, which has an unseenness to it, or like the way that people thought about, like people like Fukuyama thought that politics was going to end up as in the digital age, where like it's just everywhere. There's like this managerialism that's unseen. It's like the actual market free hand. Whereas the promise of someone like Trumpism and reactionary politics is to take politics once more and to ground it into a very transparent site, and says politics emanates from this source rather than the all over approach of like global liberalism, which I think is like what people dream of. People want a face. They want Mussolini's face to say CCCC on the building again. They
would want that, but they'll settle for an Emmanuel Goldstein that they can hate for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, and for liberals, what is that? But other than the, like, there was that Hill.
Oh, wait, one more point, Prud. Scalar politics means the scalar measurement in physics is a physical quality that is completely described by its magnitude. So the impact and force, that is what the right wing wants.
Yeah.
We want like a scalar politics of something that is magnitudinous, that has a lot of weight, that is once again centered within a face, rather than the lack of face.
A deep
like postmodern politics.
A deep impact, a crater rather than a singular direction.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Everywhere that pushes out from an inner source, cannonball dropping, the bombshell of Trump winning, versus this Fabian Whiggish line of history type deal.
That politics would become unseen. That politics would become so seamless with everyday life.
The invisible
that you wouldn't
hand
even
of
notice it was there.
Politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than just the market, but politics itself.
Yeah.
And
go ahead, predict.
No, you're good. It's very rare I interrupt you. And the thing about me that stuff is always interesting to me, and I like reading about it, despite the fact that yes, it is lefty word salad. But you kind of need to understand that these are what these people think. And
yes,
if you think that's lefty word salad in some like efflux journal, wait till you read the stuff that gets put in like digital social ecology. Like that stuff's crazy.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's important, I think, to consider is that the problem is that our politics is very scalar. The problem is it's not us that are dropping the cannonballs. We drop pebbles into the ocean that it occasionally causes a ripple somewhere.
Oh yeah.
The issue is the people dropping cannonballs is the state and the regime, and partnering with various non-state actors to accomplish various goals and objectives. And it's also in the language that we use, right? Like, we know how to drop a cannonball, but because we've also shaped the river, we've shaped the canal, where does the tsunami wave go? Well, it goes in a direction. They've managed to take the magnitude of scalar politics, but they've also managed to put it in a direction to where the force of a bomb can now be directed in a particular direction. Like, the hypothetical, this weapon could generate a tsunami or whatever. Like, that's what we've done politically. Well, the left has done politically, I think, to a large extent, because even the rhetoric that they use, right? Like that awful WGN tweet from Chicago, where it was like, Confederate monument finally taken down.
Oh yeah.
Like the rhetoric, the bomb, cannonball drops into the ocean. But because the canal and the dam has been built, it can only go in one singular direction. It's a politics of scale, but it goes in a latitudinal direction in which we can now generate the perceived form of discourse. And that's the crazy thing about the internet is like the question that people are asking: can you escape culture war? Can you escape the way that these weapons are built? Can you climb above the dam? Can you climb above high enough so you don't drown in the tsunami, so it's not 2004 Indonesia Christmas Day for you?
Oh man,
that's the question, right? And like that's the ultimate question of escape, right? This is why Nick Land talks about exit so much. This is why it's so.
Exit would be a form of rupturing, or it would be a scalar magnitude drop.
It would
in a way. Yeah.
because if you can tell people how to like climb out of the dam or climb out of the canal in which they're trying to drown you in, that would destroy the whole system,
Oh
right?
yeah.
and and
100%.
and that's why the whole claim about disintermediation is so powerful. Like, I can bypass regime media. The problem is that you can bypass it, but where are you? Oh, maybe you're like 5 feet further down the canal than you once were. Cool. The wave is still going to hit you. We're still byproducts of the wave hitting us.
Oh
The
yeah.
things that we talk about. And so, yes, we have these different, consensual communal hallucinations about how the world may work. And that's Gibson's words. It's for us that they're not hallucinations. They're the literal understanding of our worldview and our politics. Oh, I'm a neo-reactionary. Oh, I'm a fascist. Oh, I'm like an ethnic national. Like, all these are just sort of these like basic assumption groups that are existing in a digital zone, then which can be thrust into a direction by, say, oh, the federal government's going to let like 10,000 more refugees in, or oh, Canada just added like 460,000 people to its population in the third quarter of
1% over 1
2023.
year. Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think about. And so again, to go back to Gibson and to go back to this documentary, I think, Gibson's kind of got like, it's like the whole blind men trying to tell you what an elephant is by feeling it up. Gibson's got the idea, but Gibson doesn't have the whole elephant.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, the tidal bore, he is right about the waves, and he's right about how this stuff affects us and how it can like permeate our consciousness. And we use the waves as an extension of ourselves and communicating with other people all around the world. But that's one part of the elephant, right? And then the other part of the elephant would be like McLuhan saying, like, the closer we get to one another, the more we hate each other, right? Like, the more we're exposed to other cultures, the more we realize, oh, that culture sucks. Like the Ethiopian food tweet, right? Oh man, Ethiopian food sucks. No wonder why they're constantly running. They're trying to chase a chicken down like 26 miles. And the same way that the other part of the elephant might just be, oh, actually, it's the government dropping these like tidal waves into the canal that pushes things in one direction. And so Gibson gives you one part of it, but he doesn't give you the whole.
Yeah.
And it has that 90s techno optimism that maybe we can change the world with this technology, but actually changing the world is basically just trying to have the politics of future past. How do I have the prosperity of the past utilizing the techniques of today? And, if you're a Spenglerian, you would say that that's hopeless. If you're Mark Andreessen, you could say it's possible, but not everyone can be saved. If you're Nick Land, you should just say embrace it and see what comes. Coldness be your God. Do not have hope or faith. And if you're a Christian, you're like struggling with a lot of other Christians. How do I remind myself of the incarnate, especially as we come towards Christmas? How do I focus on the incarnate word, the God made man, God becoming flesh, in a world where I have become so digitally disassociative? I have disincarnated myself into the extension of this of cyberspace.
No, but instead of that feeling of being disincarnate as the form of Christmas morning, as that excitement of, I mean, we still get glimpses of it of flowing, but that's like gone now. That postmodern divide of Jameson, that's been thwarted by I would say, the banality of what the internet's become, the internet society. Like, you know what I mean? It's a very weird utopian interrupted sort of feeling.
Well,
and I feel like us millennials are like, that's our like legacy to the world. Utopianism interrupted forever.
But isn't that's the millennial like lefty anger, right? It's the whole movie Bob thing. I want my flying cars. And maybe and this is,
it's funny because Patricia Reed said that too about the leftists also have the simplistic note of power, which is what she's called like complexity fatigue, where we have to just ground in like evil corporations or like, evil chuds now or whatever, right? So it's
the nuance fatigue, right?
Nuance fatigue,
like and I had the conversation with someone. He's like, oh, I'm going to take a break from Twitter, and I was like, why? It's just like, well, I'm not a fan of the discourse, like discourse TM, right? Like, because if you're not constantly plugged in, right, you're not gonna know, and then you're gonna be missing out, and then like the FOMO sets in, and then like you're not part of it. You want to have the takes. And you were talking about this on Content Minded yesterday about the whole desire to want to be a part of the game and to be seen and to be heard, but also
not be seen at the same time.
To not be seen at the same time, and that's the
or to only paradox. Be seen in a certain measure, but not seen by other people.
Yeah, and that's
which is a little game I've tried to perfect over the years as well.
But it's quasi paradoxical,
right?
And that's the thing is that like the left and the right maybe not scalar politics, but like responsible politics. Like we want to point to evil corporation and say like, this evil corporation is bad. Elon Musk is Hitler. Like, and it's just like on the right, we're like, well, we want to blame, some other group of people that you can get.
There's this other corporation we have to blame, Bud Light. I'm sorry, Bud Light. They're based now. They're based now.
And so you get. It's
we're gonna soothe the woke away. We're gonna give the woke pacifier. We're gonna tuck them into bed.
We're gonna tuck them into bed, and we're gonna put the pillow over their head. And
I should tweet that: soothe the woke away.
Soothe the woke away. Here's some Midol. Soothe the woke away.
It sounds like a children's. I said it sounds like a children's nursery rhyme. Like put the woke away. Like it's. And someone fed it through ChatGPT, and they're like, "This is what it would." It was actually a pretty good poem, like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
Put the woke away.
Put the woke away. Put the
I believe John Carter put like created an AI children's book cover. Put the woke away.
Put the woke away. I liked that. I saved that photo. It was really good. Put the woke away. Put the woke to sleep.
It spends weeks on hating a picture of Ethiopian food. No, it'll be a few days.
That'll be gone in an instant. As soon as the next news story hits,
it'll be gone
Ethiopian. It'll be gone tomorrow. And that's the thing is that I don't know. And Gibson talks about speed, but I don't think he understood how fast it would go. I mean, Gibson's a baby boomer. He's born in like 49, 48, right? And he's like 70 something years old. And it's just like, you have no idea.
Do you like the part about the priest who, for the first time, heard an audio recording on the
where he thought it was like he heard it from the phonograph on the tinfoil that you could use to record, and he thought he was like listening to the voices of the dead, and he thought it was evil. And it was kind of
literally do listen to the voices of the dead all the time.
We do all the time, whether it's in our music or our the voice of hell. I don't know. It was interesting because to me, there was a video that came out talking about how it wasn't Edison's invention. It was an older French one that with modern technology we can finally hear their voices. And I thought it was really, for us, we're so used to it. So to me, it was historical. Like this is the one of the oldest voices that we've ever been able to record, or that we got to hear, von Moltke, the famous German Prussian commander, to hear his voice and to give, compliments to Mr. Edison. And
or that Civil War veteran that they recorded.
Or the Civil War veterans, or people who were hundreds of years old, 100 years old, talking about the world that they grew up in and technology. And it was just, for us, that's impressive. And maybe that also speaks to maybe our own view of faith and our own understanding. Because to me, it's kind of strange to think that, there are people that are now canonized as saints in both the Roman Catholic and the Eastern Orthodox Church whose voices we can listen to. We can see them on video. We have physical proof that there are incorrupt bodies.
Yeah, John Paul II. There's probably hundreds of hours of people recording John Paul II.
I mean, there's hundreds of hours of people recorded of Archbishop Dimitri of Dallas, who will one day most likely be canonized as a saint in the Orthodox Church.
Really? He'll be a saint?
An incorrupt body after like being in a wet grave for like 7 years is proof.
Yeah, that's
for a lot of people.
There you go.
But I mean, people didn't need to hear the voices of the dead in the past. I mean, that's very true. But also the technology wasn't there for it. And for us,
that was like the Nirvana documentary, and all these millennials were like soy-jacking over it because they
could hear Kurt Cobain's voice.
Yeah, they had like Butch Vig. He had the master recordings from Nevermind, and they isolated that one part at the end of Smells Like Teen Spirit. And it's like, it's like the God is talking.
And isn't it also strange that, of course, you and I will one day be dead.
Oh yeah.
And the stupid shit we said in our late 20s and early 30s will be our blip of existence in history. And we don't. I mean, for us, I think that's why writing, I think, still is one of the more important. Because there's some finality to it,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Whereas this is technically never ending.
What's funny is that I remember I don't know why I think about this. This is such a stupid example. But
we now have 24-hour documentaries on Christian. Like, maybe this is the voices from hell. This is hell. Maybe it's hell. Maybe you're right, Lewis. Maybe this is hell.
And we're exactly.
We're just living in it.
Just don't know it. Yeah. No, it's funny. I remember this is one of the most this is such a stupid example. It's such a juvenile example, but do you remember like during the internet blood sports days, there were like people that would be like hanging around them. Like there would be a minor cast characters, if you will. Like you'd have like Jace, what's the one guy's name that was Andy Worski's co-host? His name was Diogenes, or people that hang around the Kumite.
History will remember that.
Oh my god! History will remember that Gio can't ride a bike.
That implies that isn't it crazy to think about that in like maybe 50 years, less than 50 years from now, people's tweets are going to be in history books?
Oh, there are already some accounts like Monoquion 4 or Maya whose tweets are immortalized in different websites. But no, but it's funny because the most profound thing Andy Worski ever said in this life, he said that like when they had the whole like IBS apocalypse stream, whereas like all of them were arguing with each other. If you remember that one?
Yeah.
It was the end of the IBS sphere. He said, there's this guy who's like a drama guy on the Daily Kumite called Anal Vape. He goes, can you imagine your legacy in this lifetime being known as Anal Vape on the internet? I'm like, that's the most profound thing Andy Worski ever said. Because, you better choose your name wisely or else, Yeah, IBX Apocalypse was total Kino. But yeah, so do you want to get to the news?
My YouTube comment is in a McLuhan biography. Oh man, there you go.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
But
I mean,
what's been happening? Yeah, go ahead. But what do you think about that point with what Andy?
There's truth to it. I mean,
yeah.
I this is why I guess a lot of my work has been kind of meta as of late. Like, how
subject. I can't believe someone brought him up in current year.
That's so true. I use that name on some wrestling forums. Yeah. I don't know, like, because to me it's very strange. Like on one hand, it's kind of cool that if you're a historian a century from now, implying that there's historians, implying there's civilization, implying base world has occurred and someone's doing, something like that, right? I think it's particularly interesting that if you're a historian, there's at least 30 years right now of digital content that you can go through and cite and read. And a lot of those people are already dead. Like the people we reviewed in that stupid TV show, right? The other couple episodes ago, half those guys are dead.
Yeah.
Half those
Sir Paul is dead from season 3.
Half those Canadians are dead.
Yeah.
In the way that
I hope Pat's still around. I hope she's still alive.
In the same way, for instance, our friend Apex Symaps, right? Like who does he cite? He cites a blogger, Zippy Catholic.
Zippy Catholic died
and Zippy Catholic died quite some time ago.
I think a motorcycle accident.
I think so. 2012-ish, right? Maybe a little. But yeah, motorcycle accident. And it was just, and it's crazy to think. Yeah, and in 5 to 10 years.
No, he died way later. He died like in 2019 or something like that.
Maybe, right? Yeah. Grayson Quay says, in 5 to 10 years, there'll be more people dead on Facebook than the living people, right? I mean, that's the case.
We're surrounded by the dead.
And so you gotta, and someone will study all of this shit. Someone might find some obscure niche e-celebrity and write like a PhD thesis about them. Who knows, right?
They already have.
I'm sure. Yeah, right.
There's that book, Warhol Chris Chan.
Yep.
I mean, I could do. I've written. I think I'm probably like the go-to guy as in the remembrance of Nobody TM.
Like if Kathrine really wanted to make money, she would just argue for a new academic discipline.
Well, you know what's funny?
And start doing actual internet history.
Yeah. You know what's funny?
Digital archaeology, motherfucker. Like, go for it. Enjoy.
I know I shouldn't mention his name because he's not a very stable person. But this is what Godwinson said once. He said this when he made the Alexander Jahans documentary. He goes, when you are on the ground floor of a different locale, you can create the legacy of that locale. You can set the tone for how other people are going to see it, even though you yourself are not that popular. Other people can popularize that locale, and that they can then become, they could be forced in the mainstream, but you are the one because you got in the ground floor of that locale to determine the narrative on that locale. And I'm like, man, that is so true. That is so true.
The Arthur C. Clarke quote in chat: "Behind every man now alive stands 30 ghosts, for that is the ratio by which the dead outnumber the living."
Whoa, that is true.
Eventually something will either kill the internet, or the internet as we know will have some sort of crisis.
The AI will probably
there's already a crisis, because a lot of old websites have not been properly preserved.
Yes.
Has not been.
A lot of forums have never been properly preserved.
Yeah, and I mean, even the Usenet archive doesn't contain everything. Even the Internet Archive doesn't contain everything. There are films, like foreign and domestic, that have come out in the last 20 years that people didn't save or digitize or record. And
yeah, on the Silver Globe, that was a miracle that they preserved as much as they did.
And I mean, even the and we can talk about these old film strips. They caught fire in the archives. There's hundreds of lost films of the 1920s and such. There are lost websites, lost forums, lost users.
I mean, let's face it, a lot of those films or websites were crap.
Well, sure.
But still, it's the point of it. Yeah.
If you're a historian, there's a big deal to preserve those things. Yeah. And so for this strange, weird shitposty podcast that we've done, right? Half of all movies made before the 1950s were lost forever. How much of these forums, how much of these podcasts, how much of these tweets and ideas will be lost to some greater ether, either when A, the internet dies, or B, whatever replaces the internet evolves into something new.
Yes.
And most of this will be left behind, because whatever replaces the internet, will probably come from the state or be co-opted by the state, and they'll recognize that these kind of platforms are a threat. So the people a-logging journalists and ratioing them, that shit will disappear.
No, it'll be more of like a China style regime. Yeah. No, but I can't really see anything superseding the internet, in the sense that the internet has become the totalization of all life, and everything.
There was no internet. There was no internet to find in the Canticle for Leibowitz. Well, that also came out before the internet, but even still, in the post-apocalypse, there will be no internet.
Well, that's sort of was it the H.G. Wells, where he the time traveler discovers the Eloi, just forgot about the books, and so they're all disintegrating.
The time machine.
Yeah. So it's because nobody will even read the books, right? Because I forget who said it. That's the way that you can control the masses. It's not that.
I think it was our friend Enoch Powell, or Mog the Urbanite on Twitter. He was just listen, you've got
people are just not going to read. Yeah.
Well, it's not even that they're not going to read, but people have access to this technology. We have more locked tastes, but Eloi minds.
Yes.
Because you can have a smartphone, right? This is great, this is cool, whatever. Do you know how to fix it? Do you know how to build it? Do you know what it works? Nope.
Can you mine the coltan to get the people that's what I mean. Especially
can you enslave a South African country to mine the bauxite? Can you?
I think if you had 100 mercenaries, you could probably enslave a few South African countries.
And also, the thing about books is Green Glass Full says they're a lot harder to revise. That's also very true. Who knows? 100%. Maybe one day someone will find this podcast and cut out all of our slurs.
Yeah, or all allusions to slurs. Anyways, what's going on in Yemen? Do they finally fighting back against the American-sponsored genocide of them?
What a loaded fucking question.
I know, right? I know. I've been hanging around Third Worldist too much. No, but you know how they fund the Saudis the Saudis then bomb Yemeni.
Yes,
so what's been going on with Yemen? But unbiased take
on it's been going on for a decade now. So there's Operation Prosperity Guardian. I'm actually screw you. I'm gonna deny you your answer. I'm talking about this tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern with Furious Pertinax, Semiagog, Charlemagne, and Raging Mandrill. We're going to talk about the Navy. We're going to talk about the Suez Canal.
I'm never invited on those geopolitical streams
because I'm trying to give this the apostolic majesty 4-hour take on it, and I don't want it to be. We do this. We do this, Gio. We do this.
I know, but I know it would be a taboo for you. It would be
Why would it be taboo?
Well, because if you did geopolitics with me instead of doing this, it would be it'd be I was gonna say something vulgar, but what I mean. It would kind of be a taboo. It would be, yeah. It wouldn't
No,
feel the same.
why don't you just like get your point out rather than to be like, oh yeah, be this.
No, but I mean, like, if I were to do a
Just
geopolitics
say it,
stream on your
fucker.
channel instead of doing Digital Archipelago, it would be like risque in a way. It would be,
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I don't share your third worldist tendencies, so it would probably be why.
Well, true, but I mean, like, I don't have that. Okay, I try to kayfabe the third worldist tendencies that I have because of the recent discourse in the right. Well, Grayson, that's because I paywall my Ukrainian takes now. Well, if you want to hear them, Grayson, go to the War Report. The episode before last I was on.
I was about to say, like, you've got like 5 hours worth of Ukraine takes on all those War Report episodes.
I have about 10 hours on all the War Report episodes I've been on. So, last episode was 4 hours, so probably more than 10 hours of takes on Ukraine and all other geopolitical thing. No, but I want to do it with you.
The end.
It's like my geopolitical dungeon. I want you to be my. No, I'm not gonna say it. No, that's so fucking stupid.
We haven't done this one in a while.
It's like being a podcaster is kind of being like into BDSM, but it's like playing is like going on another person's podcast.
Welcome to my dungeon.
Being a podcaster kind of is like being a masochist.
Welcome to my podcast.
Yeah.
As you can see, we've got Paul F. Tompkins over there doing his Werner Herzog impression, giving reviews. He's given up again. Yes, he has. It's sad.
Oh my god!
I need you to come on to my geopolitical dungeon, Gio. I need you to understand. I need you to understand.
That is a good
facile goose is right. It's a geopolitical shit vibe. The lotion is not going in the basket for not talking about Russia, Gio. The done is kaput. The show is
over. They're gonna put the Ukrainians
over.
and put the woke away. Put the Ukrainians away.
The show is over. It's done.
It's over. No safe words in Gio's dungeon. No, but
that was way more fun than I should have done. That I should start talking like this more often.
I should do a YouTube short where we clip that.
It doesn't. I'm surprised we don't have a clips channel yet.
This good soul lyric sentence. Oh god. Oh, it's terrible. That's actually my friend Peter Juvenile. Yeah.
I'm trying to get.
That's terrible.
I just saw someone talk about 50 Shades of Gay.
50 Shades of Gay.
Written by Helen Andrews.
Oh god.
I need to.
No, but being a podcaster is like being a masochist.
Grayson, you have some pull. I'm also mutuals with Helen Andrews. I need to have her on because I want to talk about her article in the American.
Helen Andrews, we were mutuals, but she unmutualed me for some reason.
Because she was like, "Oh, this guy's takes."
I don't know why. It was a long time ago.
If you don't, tweet on how many tweets about sex may have done it for her.
Maybe. You went a little Sean Connery at the end there.
Well, true. I didn't slap a woman, so it's okay.
But you would have. I was going to make a joke about that Helen Andrews C-SPAN interview, but
I would not have done that. That was beyond the pale. And I mean, she wrote about that later. She couldn't get a job for years.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
She just wanted a man to assert himself. That's all. Like, why did he have to be a little bitch about it?
Because he's a spiritual libtard.
Like, Helen Andrews should have. I think like Helen Andrews just came way too late. Like she should have been in her 20s.
I love the fact that she has a Germanic Teutonic last name. Her maiden name is like more like she's got that like Teutonic autism when she talks about immigration and shit. Like I love her now where she's just all like, listen, I'm gonna repeat it till I'm blue in the face. It's not ideology, it's demographics.
In her 20s with like right-wing bodybuilders instead of NPR writers. She would have been, Gracie Queen, you never watched
born too late to be a racist.
Helen Andrews, where her boyfriend's like having like a caddy, like
born too late to be a racist E-celeb.
Helen Andrews would have been like Anna Kachine if she was. Oh my god, I shouldn't say stuff like that. I respect both Helen Andrews and Anna Kay, just for the record.
Chief women respect her.
No, Grayson, it was on C-SPAN. Her ex-boyfriend
from like
talked
2011
about how she needed a man to like dominate her or whatever, and like it was very
and
awkward.
then she was cheating on him, and then she had like ultra conservative opinions that were like impolite for society.
But she's a racist, actually. Like, it's
people, it's future.
If you want to know Helen Andrews, GF.
She's a happily married woman, Eric. Shut the fuck up. Jeez Louise. But she has that Teutonic autism about her, which I greatly appreciate.
Oh my God. Helen Andrews, GF. Her husband's Russian Orthodox. There you go.
I didn't know that. I've really? Because doesn't she live in Australia?
Does she?
Andrew's lore only on this stream. Well, if she's on Twitter, just go fucking ask a question. Actually, no, don't
mention this.
Don't mention us. Don't mention us.
And don't mention the C-SPAN interview thing. That was panel.
Don't do that.
She'll probably block you.
Get us the fuck out of here. Go to the super chats.
No, I thought we were going to talk about Yemen.
I'm talking about that tomorrow. I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm not gonna blow my load early on this. No.
All the geopolitical fun.
I'm gonna edge that for 4 hours over a stream with great guests over international shipping and logistics and war.
How's the Gaza war going? Is it still ongoing?
Yeah.
People are still dying.
Yeah.
Oh man. The Americans just gonna let them do but I remember I was listening to the war report and they were speculating that you would think under Biden that they can't just, because of the election next year, they can't just let the Israelis do whatever they want because of the Democrat voting base. But I'm like, they're doing whatever they want now, so it's like it doesn't really matter at the end.
I don't know. I mean, but like, so in the backdrop of all of this, you have a very strange battle in the backdrop of the U.S. State Department, where like you have your sort of traditional, what you would call sort of more Israel-oriented.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the neoconservative. Yeah, Prue don't pull tricks for free. So true, Kate. I don't. But you have like the Ukrainian firsters. Then you have the anti-China firsters. You have the Newland types that are like, listen, guys, I really, really want to kill Slavs that are not Jewish. Yes. So you have that.
We really have to kill Russian orcs. That's what they want.
Really, we listen. They failed our vision for communism. The Russians survived. We have to kill Russia. But that's an oversimplification. You have that camp. You have a very large pro-Iranian camp that really gets ushered in by Barack Obama. You have to understand,
you have a pro-Iranian camp.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes. And there's
I would sign on to that camp.
There's an interesting read where you could say that like the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, was actually good policy. You could.
That's why I didn't agree with Trump. His like anti-Iranian thing. He's like, this is a very bad deal.
Well, we know why, right?
Well, of course.
Thank you, Jared Kushner. But I mean, that's the interesting thing too. Is just that like Trump comes in an unexpected election victory, and it's just like, okay, so we have the Abraham Accords, no Iran deal, more sanctions, blah 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 blah. Biden gets into office. We got to reverse this. Try to get the JCPOA restarted. We're trying to try and like ease up things. Let's give Iran some money. And in one way, like boosting Iran would probably be like if you wanted to like decouple America from Israel, that's how you do it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Which is the read that you would take there, right? Is that like Khamenei and the IRGC are garbage, sure.
But then Trump had to do like this.
But then America doesn't have to deal with Israel, right? Like if there was power parity in the Middle East, oh my God, I'm done, right? Arguably, and realistically speaking, I don't think that that's possible. And if you're an American,
oh yeah, you mean decoupling America and Israel? No, that's not.
Well, by bolstering Iran, I don't think you would do that, but you would have more leverage over Israel, which is what I think the Obama admin and to some extent some of the insiders with the State Department would like.
It is a natural progression because demographically, a lot of the future generations in America simply won't care about Israel. So
you see that when they poll people about Israel in America, it's just like, listen, there are a lot of like anti-Israeli people, and it's like, well, why? I said, well, because like Gen Z is really brown, like.
And the ones who aren't, the ones who are right wing and Gen Z don't exactly like Israel either, for different reasons.
Yeah, but for vastly different reasons.
Vastly different. We all, not to explicate it for YouTube purposes. Gen Z right wingers not liking Israel. They kind of don't like Israel for different reasons than
What's that Horace Finkelstein tweet where he's just like, it shows like this orangutan with all these like smaller Macau monkeys or whatever, and it's like Thomas 777 teaching racism to his like mixed race Zoomer followers.
One of the best.
I think about that tweet all the time.
One of the tweets I think about was when Ace was with T77, the meetup, and someone, I forget who wrote it, but someone said, "This is my dad on my weekly monitored visit, on my monthly monitored visit."
That's good.
Oh my god, that's so good.
That's good. But no, I mean, like there are these factional camps inside this, especially in this administration, State Department, and the executive branch in general, that are. There's a battle between like, well, how pro-Israeli can you get, but also cater to like progressive democratic sentiments that like free Palestine, right? And like that's a huge battle on top of like.
Well, even the Israelis are trying this, where they had that ad with the 2 gay IDF people. God. Like that was never going to work.
See, I thought the Ukraine like NATO stuff was bad when they were talking about like Harry Potter and Marvel and all that, and then Israel's like, we can one up you, and
we can one up you with this.
We can one up you with this. Like, behold our gay idea.
Tel Aviv Pride Parade.
Well, I mean, what, isn't Tel Aviv got like some of the highest concentrations of LGBT people in the world?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. But I mean,
who owns Truvada?
Don't look up the statistics of Arab rent boys in Tel Aviv. But a lot of horrific stuff happens to Arabs in Tel Aviv.
Now I'm looking that up.
Look up Constantine Martelli's channel report. So, but
based in Foster City, California. Who would have guessed?
Of course. But anyway,
but they do have. But they are in Israel as well. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they have a big plant there.
Well, shut up. I'll shut up.
There's a lot of horrific things that happen to young Arab boys in Israel. Don't look that up, by the way. Don't look.
The war report can be found on YouTube, right?
Yeah, on Constantine Martelli's channel. I told him to change his channel name to War Report, but I guess like there's another podcast that says War Report. But anyways,
Supers.
The supers.
And
also
I like when we have a show at the 3 hours clean.
Yeah. But also I have a PayPal, and all of Prude's links are down there. And it's both their birthdays on Saturday. So we'll see what's going on.
I'll be live with Frens Saturday morning. I will have my annual Christmas address video. I'll be out in the woods in my Christmas best talking to y'all. And then I'll have a video out during the New Year's that's scripted.
Nice.
Because I will be out of town during the New Year weekend.
Oh, yeah. So no DA that week?
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
I might be able to swing a Thursday live stream. We'll see.
All right. So, oh my God, 10 for 10 pounds! John Morton. Happy birthday, lads. I hope you have a great Christmas and a new year. Thank you, John Morton.
Well, thank you, John. Really appreciate it.
Oh my God, new Gloth for $50! HBD, and happy birthday and Merry Human Biodiversity and Merry Christmas. See, Twitter's like the internet screwed my mind up so much. I immediately thought of
human biodiversity. Why, thank you, sir. It's this Saturday. It is strange that you and I both have a birthday this Saturday, that we share the same day.
I know.
Who would have guessed?
December 23rd. This is why it was meant to be. And for £5 by John Morton again with a good super chat. Star Trek Deep Space Nine is brilliant. Well worth doing an episode on it. Rick Berman's meditation on Judaism.
Yeah, kind of, but it's also, I mean, that was more Ira Stephen Bear's show, and Ira Stephen Bear is also like very, 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 just very Jewish. And I always find it funny because they'll be like, well, actually, the Ferengi of Deep Space Nine with Quark and all that, like they're the most human characters of the show. And I'm like, really? All these like money grubbling, hustling capitalists that like hate women are like the most human characters on the show? That's a little telling.
Oh, is that with Cisco where they kept committing war crimes In the name of America.
It's based. And like what's worse is they try and make Gul Dukat like the most like cartoonishly evil character possible, but he's like the most well-written villain ever. And you're just like, I love this guy. And they're like, well, what if we made him like the Antichrist or whatever? And it's like, doesn't matter, he's still cool. Like,
doesn't matter, based.
Based.
How many seasons of Deep Space Nine?
There are 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine. But I mean, like, Bajor is basically Space Palestine. You know, like
I never watched all those ones because my old man was like a Star Trek purist. So it's either the original series or the Next Generation. That's it. It's like, the other ones are crap. I'm like, I always doubted it. Maybe I should watch Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space, out of all of like the Rick Berman era Star Trek, Deep Space Nine is worth it. But my heart has a special place for Enterprise.
I can't Enterprise like with Janeway.
No, that's Voyager. Enterprise with Scott Bakula as the captain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How many seasons did that have?
4. It was unceremoniously canceled with the shittiest series finale ever.
Man, kind of like Carnival, or I like people like the Sopranos. Like, listen, I've never liked the Sopranos ending.
Oh, if you thought that was bad. If you thought that was bad.
Oh my God. It's even worse.
There are worse endings, yeah.
With Enterprise.
Enterprise gets the shittiest series finale ever.
All series finales are terrible. The only series finale I think that ever did it right was 6 Feet Under. You ever watch 6 Feet Under?
No, I have not.
That was a great series.
Well, Cheers gets a good series finale. So does.
Oh yeah, Cheers gets it. Isn't Roseanne an offshoot of Cheers? No, wait.
No, it is not.
What's an offshoot of Cheers?
Cheers isn't an offshoot. Cheers was the original show. Frasier is the offshoot of Cheers.
Frasier's the offshoot of Cheers. People don't know that lore.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Breaking Bad had a good finale. That's also true.
That's true.
MASH had a very good finale. It's one of the most watched pieces of television ever.
The Walking Dead had an absolutely the original one had an absolutely terrible finale. Because it never ends, right? They have to keep milking it.
I was like, I really never paid attention after like I think season 4, so I never.
Oh man. Anyways,
I'm still really upset. I'm still really upset that like Oren McIntyre and Last Things talk about fucking Battlestar Galactica, and they don't talk about the Mormonism at all in that television show. In both the original and in the new one, like the whole religiosity aspect of Battlestar Galactica is Mormonism, and no one talks about it.
No, but the original, the movie though, it's got a lot of like that weirdo, like David Icke type of, I don't know. It's got the aliens create humanity. How
much Mormon theology do you know?
Oh, that's right.
Like, again, like the original creator of
Mormonism.
It was a practicing Mormon.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that's kind of like how what was that movie that was basically just Scientology propaganda with what was it called? With like the Constitution and everything. It had John Travolta as the alien overlord.
I do not know.
Come on, chat. You know this one. What was it called? Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield
Earth.
I did not.
What a terrible movie. What a terrible movie. That was terrible. I hated it.
Mormons are good at sci-fi because their religion is sci-fi. Yeah, I mean, Orson Scott Card is one hell of a writer.
Orson Scott Card, that's right. There's Mormon transhumanism even. I didn't believe that. That's true.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of apocalypse, speaking of The Walking Dead, Joshua Bybee for $5. Anna and the Apocalypse is the best right-wing Christmas zombie musical ever made. What's Anna and the Apocalypse?
I'm looking that up.
This is crazy.
2017, Sarah Swire, Ben Wiggins, Malcolm Cumming, Ellen Hunt, Christopher Lowe. Anna and the Apocalypse is a 2017 British zombie Christmas musical film directed by John McFall from a screenplay by Alan McDonald and Ryan McHenry, based on McHenry's 2010 BAFTA-nominated short zombie musical. Ensemble cast of unknown talent. Where can I watch it?
I'm not a fan of musicals.
Well, I am, but this sounds like the worst kind of musical ever.
No, but I mean, I'd rather just watch a drama. Why all that singing and dancing? I don't get the point. Prude, what is the point of a musical? A drama is a dramatic play is a superior art form.
Because it has a deep, rich American tradition. And I'm casually looking through all my books on it. I don't know.
No, but a singing, okay, you're watching a play, and all of a sudden they break out in singing and dancing.
Okay, great. Why do we need opera?
But opera's different, though.
It's all just singing and dancing to prove a point.
I don't know about that.
There are things in musical notation which can only be that I think go fast. But yeah, I mean it's Italian, Gio. Come on, man. I mean, the musical is an American tradition. It's very Anglo, but it's a very American tradition, and it sort of comes out of the operetta too. I mean, this is where it evolves into. And so, I mean, for instance, Stephen Sondheim's favorite song out of everything that he's ever written is Someone in a Tree from the musical Pacific Overtures, which is about the history and about America's opening of Japan with Commodore Matthew Perry. And the song is very postmodern in the sense of I'm a fragment of the day, a ripple, not the sea. You know, the day would be incomplete if there's not someone in the tree watching the treaty house where no one was. I'm underneath the room where it all happens. Right. And these older people are telling these stories of what, things used to be, about how they were only 10 years old watching this historical event unfold. And you can talk about that in words, but to listen to this ensemble cast sing and belt it out, there's a deep beauty to it. And there's a deep appreciation for it.
I guess.
But
all the pop
fucking art guy doesn't get it. So true, Sulla. So true.
No, okay, now that you put it that way, but I mean,
fucking art guy doesn't get it.
I'm more referring to all the poppy type of.
Oh, I don't like that either. Movies, I mean, you go tell me I'm going to go
Disney
watch
movies.
Rent. I want to go watch Rent. No thanks, friend.
I had a friend who was a lit major that had to do Rent.
The Music Man's great,
Now that I've been put in my place,
I doubt that, Thick Mac. And you want to know why? It's because we still live in a society where theater kids get bullied in the same way weebs used to be bullied. So no, I doubt
funny?
it.
A lot of right-wingers.
Here's the worst thing too. Is that the right-wing theater kid thing? There are quite a few of them.
I was going to say that.
Lest we not forget a certain well-coiffed gentleman singing Depeche Mode, right?
And the worst Depeche Mode song too. But anyways, Angie Benji for $5. What I love how I just stole that from PPV Whole Cloth. What are your thoughts on why cyberpunk produces great works of art more consistently than steampunk? Because steampunk is not a genre. Steampunk is for DIY nerds and theater kids themselves. No, I don't know. I think because steampunk, there's a limit to the horizon of imagination there, whereas cyberpunk has a lot of different things that you can put into a literary format. But also cyberpunk is more close to our vision of what we want the future to be, rather than sort of like a retrofuturism of steampunk. Steampunk's a gimmick. I don't know. It's a gimmick. But what do you think, Prude? What do you think? Uh-oh, I think he froze. I don't want to get to super chats alone. Oh my god. But anyways, yeah, there's a limit to the imagination of steampunk. So hopefully Prude will come back. This is kind of weird how he's just frozen. That's incredible. I don't know what to do. Should I go to the super chats? Okay, so let me see what chat's saying. Steampunk is Ren Fair with tears. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Eric. That's Hopefully Prude comes back. If not, we'll have to close out with all the other super chats. So let's go to Yenislav for $20. Happy birthday to Gio and Matt. Many happy returns, a blessing Christmas, and a happy New Year. Thank you, Yanislav. Thank you. That's crazy. $20. Wow. That's, And let's wait a little bit for Prude to come back. The best musicals was the wholesome Chungus kind. Well, of course you would say that, Kate. That is, And it's both our birthdays. anyways. Oh, here's Prude. Here you go.
Sorry about that.
Thank God.
The internet went out.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a deer with the headlights when I do stream solo. But anyways, yeah, Yanislav said happy birthday to both of us for $20.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you. $20. And oh my God, for $50.
Canadian.
Sam thank you. Sam 153. Merry Christmas and happy birthday, Gio and Matt. All the best needs in 2024. New Year's resolution for Gio: get entropy simple. Well, Prudest educate.
Oh, I have to educate you. You can go to their Discord, man. It's not that hard.
I should. Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds to get set up with them.
Next one I do, I promise I'll have entropy. So, but thank you for the $50, my friend, and Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's gonna be great. And one name for Comfy Lad. What was the greatest piece of media in the 2010s? Oh, I can't answer that.
Why? Why can't you answer that?
I don't know. In the 2010s in general?
Yeah. Greatest piece of media in the 2010s. There's a lot of... you kind of had it... Well, there was sort of like
Donald Trump going down the escalator. There you go.
I would say his election.
Yeah, his election. There you go. Yeah.
Or, I guess for media stuff, yeah, that would be it, right? Would be the election. For television... For television, I don't know. Films, there's a lot of good films that came out in the 2010s.
I thought you would say BoJack Horseman.
Oh heavens, no.
Oh God, yeah.
I have much better taste than that.
I don't know.
Feminist frequency.
Feminist frequency. Gamergate. There you go. Gamergate.
I mean, politically relevant. Gamergate, which led to everything else.
Yeah. The Sargon versus Spencer debate.
No one will remember that in 50 years.
Nah, no one will remember that. You're right.
No one will remember that in 50 years' time.
But people will remember Donald Trump's election in 50 years.
People will remember Trump's election. People will remember the news coverage of the election. The Pussy Hat March will definitely be in some history book.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
trying to think of movies, though, or like music.
I don't know. Let's go look that up.
Movies of the 2010s.
I'm going to just say best film of 2013. Let's see what came out.
I guess Me Too would be up there. People will
Me
remember
Too.
That for a long
time. I don't know,
I'm trying to think of films because 2010s culture took a nosedive.
Let's see. 2013 had Oblivion as a sci-fi film. But I mean, the 2012. I mean, like saw the death of all of those movies about all those boner comedy parody movies.
The zombie became the big thing in the 2010s. The zombie. I'm trying to think.
And I mean, also like the media, like the 2010s, I think could probably best be summarized by the
beginning of the modern culture.
Well, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like one of the. It's not the greatest, but if you were to define the 2010s as a trend, that would be one of them. I don't know. Christopher Nolan made some bangers, during that time.
I'm trying to think.
The best piece of media was the Hillary Clinton concession speech she never made. That's true.
Yeah, she never made a concession speech.
She was drunk off her ass.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep you waiting, folks.
People remember that tweet. Happy birthday to this future president.
Oh God, she never deleted it. I
never deleted it.
Daniel Day-Lewis's Lincoln. Yeah, that was probably a really good performance.
That was a good one.
I don't know. I don't know what would be the greatest.
I don't know.
And we talked about this too a while back. Like, can we remember a photograph in the last 15 years that really stands out as like the Tiananmen Square man? I don't think so.
Maybe
outside of Trump coming down the elevator, like
maybe well, in this one you could remember photos because of the Ukrainian war and then Gaza, and you could remember, but
there's a million photos. Like this is the thing, the ubiquity of a photograph, it makes it less special. And I mean, even the mugshot disappeared like that in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Comfy Lad. I may have to seriously think about this for a lot longer than I thought, Plus the Euromaidan stuff happened too. I mean, everything that sets up this decade.
Oh yeah, the picture of the snipers in the roof, that probably
Twin Peaks: The Return was the best art of the 2010s. I love that. I was disappointed so much at first. I'm like, get me my fucking Dale Cooper. And I don't get it to like the very end. And then I get Blue Ball. Maybe I'm just a masochist and I'm okay
I
with
love how
that,
we
but-
spend 10 minutes on a 199 question, but not on a 50.
You're welcome, comfy lad, you cheap bastard. No, but thank you for giving Gio money.
Yeah. Next week will be Prude's turn to get money. Prince of Parma for 14 ZA. What's ZAR?
South African Rand. So you, sir, probably just got yourself a penny.
Whoa. For Prudentialist.
He has a running gag where he'll send me super chats via South African Rand. And it's just like, yeah, thank you.
It'll be $1.
Hey, Mary Schopenhauer. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Whoa.
See, now that we broadcast on Twitter, everyone can know what giant face fags we are.
You know. Oh boy. Marcus, you wrote the foreword to my book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Because about the neoliberal part. Post nut clarity for $50.
Damn.
I hope you guys know you're gonna pay, you guys are basically paying.
You're paying Gio, not me.
For a trip to see my girlfriend for 3 days. You're paying for
You're paying for Gio to get laid. Well done, gents. He really is an e-whore.
I shouldn't admit that. Then I'm never gonna get super chats ever again.
You're paying for Gio's sex habits. I'm having
Merry
fun.
Christmas, gentlemen. Well, it's not the only thing we did. I'm spending time with my GF. Come on, it's not that. I mean, well, anyways. Merry Christmas, gentlemen. May the season be filled with faith, family, and fine food. So thank you, Post Nut Clarity. I hope everyone else is spending time with their family. What? I have to go back now.
Facile Goose is praying for Fulcher's cheer. Oh, we're against that, buddy.
Oh no!
None of us have sisters to come home to. But remember, Gio crossed state lines.
Oh my god. Am I technically a passport, bro?
Yeah, you're a tourist.
Yeah, but it's
fucker.
only America, though.
You're a tourist fucker.
That's not that fun.
I forget that she watches the show, so I probably shouldn't be so cruel.
I asked her that once. Am I technically a passport, bro? She goes, "It's only America. It's only America. You're not going to Thailand, like for Zaire."
Buddy. Yeah, these fucking immigrants coming in here stealing our jobs, taking our women.
Who said it during 9/11 that they should monitor the northern border? Was it Nancy Pelosi or who was it?
I do not recall.
It was a Republican
damn
politician.
Canadian geese. That's the wall I support.
There you go.
Keep these Indians out.
The Canadian geese are just a pest here in Ontario.
They have long necks. You can just grab them and like swing them around.
Oh yeah.
Go all Yom Kippur on their ass,
Man.
What's the next super chat, Gio?
I hope this gets monetized. Seasider for $5. How was your playthrough of Cyberpunk 2022?
Never played it. Never played it
either.
I'm not gonna waste money.
Got Keanu Reeves in it?
Yes. Gotta wake the fuck up, Samurai. We got a show to ruin.
Oh my god. And for a good friend Scribe for $5.
Hi, Scribe.
One thing that was somewhat novel.
Navel gazing much, are we?
One thing that was somewhat novel about that documentary was listening to someone talk for an hour and a half without a podcast microphone. Yeah, that is kind of novel. There you go.
No, it's just part of the it's from 2000.
I love how I just mic mogged Prude.
That's okay.
And Lou Templar for thank you, Scribe. Lou Templar for $5, our good friend. A schizo friend once speculated if Revelation 11:9 implied live streaming. Well, it's funny because don't you get a live stream of all the sinners in hell when you're in heaven?
I have no idea.
Isn't that part of the deal? You get to view people from in hell burning?
Revelation 11:9, for those who don't know the chapter and verse. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put into graves. Don't
call it a grave.
It is the grave.
Maybe. But how does that relate to podcasting?
I'm gonna have to read the full chapter to get that into context here. 11.
Blue Templar, if you could help us out.
All right. Okay. Let's see here.
The Bible of Jesus.
Yeah. Well. Anyways.
No, it's moving on.
It's an
Well, let's see.
take.
Blue Templar. Let's see.
Interesting take.
Interesting take. I have to look into that. I love how all cyberpunk media slobbers over Japan. Yeah, but that's par for the course. Japan is a cyberpunk society. So
it really is.
Anyways. In Zen for $30. Have a great Christmas and God bless you. And whoa!
Well, thank you, good sir.
Man, I'm doing pretty well these super chats. Thank you, my friend. And God bless and a good Christmas to you as well. And a happy new year. And Marcos 588 for $30. I'm looking forward to this for ages. But seriously, oh my God.
Oh man, that feels old as hell. So
seriously, guys, you may do well. Just redo the Ben-Hur stream now. You lads should do more now or reviews, but actually finish them. But I know that's tough with Furious on board. We have to do part 3.
Marcus wasn't the problem. The issue wasn't Furious at all. The problem was
YouTube.
YouTube getting us down.
Yeah. Kept clipping us.
It kept clipping us for copy. So I'll probably just have to stream it to Twitter.
Oh, we could do that.
We'll just have to stream that movie review to Twitter.
And we'll put it on Odyssey later.
And then put it on Odyssey later, and I'll put it behind the paywall or put a filter over it so I can be on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go.
Wandering Panda says, if I recall correctly, Father Stephen DeYoung on Lord of Hosts or Lord of Spirits podcast said that in heaven we will not have less technology than we have now. It'd be interesting. Well,
interesting.
We'll find out when we get there, if we get there.
We'll find out.
Pray for us.
I hope we have.
I'd like to make it there. This is what the short life that we have to do is to
we can make. I should tweet like you people are so addicted to Twitter that you're looking for theological excuses as to have a smartphone up there when you get there. So it's like, will all my previous smartphones be up there?
Heaven talk? Could you imagine?
Talk.
No, I see. This is why we should not conceptualize heaven with technology.
The heavenly archipelago.
I'd rather not.
Oh yeah, you're right.
There's a great one of the comics in Owen Cyclops' little anthology here where it's is Dessert Fathers, the most aesthetic experience. He's like, oh, I think they meant aesthetic experience. No, and everyone in the restaurant, there's nothing on their plate, and all the servers are monks with beards. I loved that. That was very good.
Aesthetic experience. That's pretty funny.
That's pretty funny.
Did Jack Chick talk about having technology? Do you have a comic about technology in heaven?
Is there a Chick track about TV in heaven?
Yeah, probably.
Protestant bros, tell us.
Remember Cal Cruz's tweet? Jack Chick did more for theology than like than a million Paul Tillages. It's probably true. Anyways, Matty Ice for $10. Happy birthdays. Interesting in the 60s art counterculture. And the initial directions. Black Pill Streak. Last night, T. Carlson said he lived in Laurel Canyon by Lookout Mountain Secret Facility. Well, a lot of those like lowbrow art psychedelic comics are quite interesting. The same milieu that Robert Crumb and
let's not forget about Jerry Garcia in them.
And Jerry Garcia, yeah, and what was his name? Williams, the other comic that was part of his
name escapes me.
He was a part of the what they called that comic? They had a bunch of them. Like Robert Crumb started off.
Name escapes me.
Something comics, yeah.
I'd have to watch the Devin Stack stream anyway. I can only watch him in short controlled bursts. He lives up to his namesake.
I've never watched that much Devin Stack apart from when he was on YouTube. So maybe
he's really good. I don't stay up that late, or I try not to. And Zap Comics. There you go.
Oh, Zap Comics. There you go. That's the one. Yeah. I like the aesthetic of Zap Comics, but yeah, a lot of very Sussy Baka stuff was happening. OJ Dyer talks a lot about it, but C set it for $5.
Another guy I don't watch.
Yeah. Favorite Jodorowsky film, and Merry Christmas to both of you. I mean, Holy Mountain, of course, has a close place to my heart, but I do like the recent one he filmed, where it was like the biography of Jodorowsky, with that opera singer, with the chubby, plumper opera singer. What's her name? It was the more recent Jodorowsky film, which is pretty good.
The only Jodorowsky film I've seen is The Holy Mountain. I don't have much to say on this one.
I mean, El Topo is good as well, but El Topo, like, I like The Holy Mountain better than El Topo. But anyways, this is gonna be a good one. Another $10 by your good. My voice is going hoarse. By your good friend Scribe. Man, you people are pretty generous on our birthdays. Top 5 Christmas movies. 5, Jingle All the Way. Ugh. 4, National Lampoon's
It's such an American film, Jingle All the Way.
I would put National Lampoon as number 2 or 3, but National Lampoon's Christmas number 3, Christmas Story 2, It's a Wonderful Life. I never liked A Wonderful Life. I mean, it's all right, but like, A Wonderful Life is
You're
like
just heartless.
It's a chick's film, bro.
It's about a man's like. It's the thing that we all ask ourselves. Maybe I shouldn't have been born.
I guess you're right.
It's not a movie for women. That is not a movie for women.
Well, okay, maybe I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Number 1, A Christmas Carol. Okay,
that could define the show. We don't know what we're saying. The digital arc. That might be the title of the next show we do. We don't know what we're saying.
Top 5 Christmas films. Okay, for me, number 1 would be A Christmas Carol, but it's got to be the 1930s one with what's his name, Alistair. You know the one, the black and white one.
Yeah.
I watch that one every year. But you go ahead, Prude. Your top 5 Christmas films.
Top 5 in no particular order.
I don't really have a top 5.
I really don't watch a lot of Christmas films, actually. I really don't.
My mother watches all those Hallmark ones.
I mean, let's see here. See, my favorite. I like The Christmas Carol. It's up there for sure. Alistair Sims is who you're thinking of.
Alistair Sims. There you go. Yeah.
But see, like for me, my 2 favorite performances of A Christmas Carol are by George C. Scott and Michael Caine in the Muppets version. So those are my favorites.
Oh my god.
I love the Muppets version. It's great. Michael Caine plays it like dead serious and like Gonzo and Rizzo. See, that's where you get Riz from. It's not about charisma. It's about the Rizzo. It's about the rat.
You know what's funny? But it's funny is that my GF, she's going to some like hipster theater to go and see where she lives to go and see the Muppets Christmas. And I like laughed at her. I'm like, she's like, what do you mean? Like
the Muppets Christmas Carol is fantastic. It's great.
I haven't watched the Muppets Christmas since I was like literally a kid.
It's so good. It's like it's a great adaptation of the Christmas Carol.
Oh, I gotta watch it then.
Rizzo the rat. This is where Riz comes from. It's not charisma. It's Rizzo the rat.
Why? Because Zoomers watched that as well when they were kids?
No, I'm being totally facetious. You fuckers.
Maybe it comes. Where does Riz come from? Does any Zoomer know where Riz comes from? Oh, there you go. That makes much more sense. Charisma. That does make sense. But do you have any other favorite? I like National Lampoon's.
Dude's terminally online doesn't know where Riz comes from.
I know. But I'm not a Zoomer.
Well, neither am I, but I still know it. Fuck.
Yeah, true. National Lampoon is a subversive film, but like
most Christmas movies are.
Yeah.
A lot of Christmas. Thank you, Operation Shy. I won't finish that word. I don't know. Joy Noel, the World War I film. A Christmas Carol. I do like the George C. Scott version. It's a Wonderful Life. I've actually never seen National Lampoon's Family or Christmas Vacation. Never seen it.
How could you not have?
I've never seen it.
It's on every movie program.
I've never seen
television.
I've never seen it.
God.
I've never seen it. I was also not very big into SNL, so that's a big reason why Chevy Chase just not my guy.
Passed you by.
I do like Jingle All the Way, and then of course, it's such a fun, stupid movie. And then what was the Tim Allen one? The Santa Claus, where he kills Santa because he succeeds Santa by accidentally killing him. And then what else? The Peanuts Christmas special. Oh, there you go. I really don't care about the Grinch that much. To me, number 1, the original Grinch cartoon, the Christmas one that's made in the 60s.
I watched that so much when I was a kid. I was like watching that in the summer. Like I had the tape.
It's nice. It's that American pop stuff in the same way all those sort of stop motion movies were in the 60s and 50s. And
Yeah.
but for me, I like the Peanuts, Charles Schultz Peanuts Christmas special. The music is so good. Plus, we get to hear the gospel from Luke heard on national television every year, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The Christmas Carol, Jingle
Ben
All the
Hur
Way.
is kind of like a Christmas movie.
Well, it's just a Christian movie, period.
Yeah.
Sort of a passion movie, if anything.
No, I would say Ben Hur is more of like an Easter movie, or like on you'd see
Ben Hur. Yeah, Ben Hur is an Easter Pascha movie. That's definitely for
like
sure.
The Ten Commandments are an Easter movie.
But yeah, those are some of my favorite Christmas movies.
Yeah, I hated the stupid Jim Carrey Grinch. I hate Jim Carrey in general, but that one
I don't like Jim Carrey. The only good performance out of him is in there's two good performances: Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind and The Truman Show. Outside of that, I could give two fucks.
Outside of that, yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't know. I guess when I was a kid, I watched Ace Ventura, but Cannibal Corpse was in Ace Ventura. Did you know that, Prude? Oh my God, he froze up again. Well, anyways, hope he comes back. It's just never liked Chevy. There was something about him I didn't like. Will Ferrell reminds me of Chevy Chase. I don't like him either. John Morton. Anyways, for $7.99, also happy birthday to both of you chaps. Love that all of the content and bants, and looking forward to the Frens birthday stream. Happy tidings and God blessing. Well, thank you very much, Marcos. Next year is going to be quite good for content. So, we're going to see what happens. Prude will be back. And for $4.99 by Dionysian Dreams, Merry Christmas to both of you. Enjoy some Modest Simp books. There you go. Modest Simp books. If Prude isn't back, I might have to just close out the stream. And Mortis the Malevolent for $5. Sir, here to help you. Oh boy. Let's see. Anyways, I don't see Prude coming back. So Truman Show of all dystopian fiction was too optimistic. This is very true. So anyways, let me see if Prude messages me. But if not, this has been a great stream. And I have a little bit, I paywalled a bit of a Christmas message. But I might just reiterate it here to close out the show, where I just quoted Philippians. Was it Philippians 8:5 or what is it? Let me see. Where is it? Philippians 4:8. This is what I said. This is my Christmas message. And I think it's a pertinent one. Because, we talk a lot about the internet and about posting and about content. But I think that this message is really what everyone, because next year is going to be insane. We all know it's going to be insane. And I think that you have to remind yourself of this message that comes from Philippians. To only focus on things that matter. And to not have a take. To not focus on garbage, on psychic pollution, is the thing that really matters. So here's Philippians 4:8. Think about good things for personal victory in any situation. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Now, this, I think, is a pretty good Christmas message to all of you. Remember to not have a take on ephemeral things, to not talk about garbage, to not talk about what is going to not last into the next day, let alone the next week, let alone into the next century. That is very hard nowadays because it's the demand to always pay attention, to never have that moment of reprieve or reflection. But remember, always think about that. Think about what is praiseworthy, what is noble, what is lovely, right? What is worthy of such things. That is the harder task, ladies and gentlemen. So this is my Christmas fetches. And finally, we have some more super chats. Where are they? Let's see. The Gio Get Laid Fund. Big N-word for 420 for $6.99. Merry Christmas to the sensitive young men out there. Yes, Merry Christmas to you all. I hope that you have a Merry Christmas with your family or loved ones, or even if you can't spend it with your family, with people that you know and you love and you have sentiment towards. John Carr for $4.99. Gio, no more super chats until you get entropy and stop reading the new international version. How did you know that was the new international version? Well, it was the one that came up on Google. So if anyone doesn't have super chats, I think Prude just his internet may have cut out. So to me and Prudentialist, Merry Christmas, everybody. This has been a great stream. God bless. Goodbye. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. I'll probably be on the birthday stream on Saturday. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet. And as Prude would say, see you, gents. And yeah.